He awakens as an adventurer, realizing he's trapped inside the game he conquered, while others crave S-rank loot. Jinfree skips the rarity, hype for broken exploits, low-tier synergies the devs totally failed to balance. It's pure meta abuse in a fantasy realm. No chosen one destiny here, just cold-blooded min-maxing and efficiency. Can a pro gamer treat reality like a world record speedrun? Let's find out. Jinfree felt it again. Even though this location was technically new, a haunting nostalgia washed over him. This wasn't his first encounter. He felt a strange sense of belonging, as if he'd breathed this air since the day he was born. The receptionist's voice snapped him back. She politely asked if he was there to register as an adventurer. Snapping out of his daze, he gave a confused nod of confirmation. As she logged his data, a flickering memory whispered that he'd seen her face before. Moments later, she beamed, announcing his status window was ready. Suddenly, a glowing system interface materialized before him. A quick wave of his hand for authentication sent a massive jolt of déjà vu through his spine. The fog cleared, he remembered everything. The girl noticed his stunned expression and asked if he was okay. He went silent as a flood of memories from this world surged through his mind like lightning. This world was the game he'd lived and breathed Grand 7, where he reigned as a top-tier pro. It's a vast kingdom-style RPG spanning 7 massive continents. Now that digital fantasy has become his literal reality, he struggled to process it. Why were these memories only surfacing now, after all this time? He was just a normal guy striving for a better life and a way to support his family. But the world he was raised in is actually a game from his past life. Most would panic, right? On the contrary, Jinfree was ecstatic. This was his ultimate golden ticket. The girl, however, looked genuinely worried. He was literally trembling. After apologizing for the scare, he gave a confident grin and flexed his muscles. He claimed he was just itching for action. Inside, he still wondered, why did his past awaken now? Answers were nowhere to be found, but with this knowledge, he knew he could reach the absolute peak. With a slick gesture, he logged in to inspect his stats. Since he was unranked, only basics appeared. The receptionist noted his flexible nature and awkwardly wished him luck on his journey ahead. Stepping through the portal, he emerged into a breathtaking fairy tale landscape at the baptismal altar. Every detail was a pixel-perfect match for the game. He turned his gaze toward the central island. This is the gathering point for 5 rookies. So far, the game's script is playing out perfectly. But there's a catch. This is real life. No checkpoints, no saves, and death is permanent. By weaponizing his pro-gamer secrets, he's about to become a living legend. The baptism ceremony was set for 30 minutes. Jinfree smirked. It was time to gear up for war. Just like the game, he warped to the main island as the other adventurers immediately scrambled away. Chaos erupted instantly as desperate brawls broke out over the limited weaponry. Greed took over as stronger recruits snatched gear right out of the hands of others. Jinfree just watched. The baptism's forced class selection system was exactly what he expected. Rookies were literally foaming at the mouth for high-tier roles, while he focused on a deeper strategy. While they chased hype, Jinfree prepared to make a far more calculated decision. One thug finally bullied a girl out of a spear, bragging like a king. Jinfree didn't blink. Offended by the silence, the guy spat insults, but our MC just walked toward the leftovers. He locked eyes on a dagger. On paper, its stats were absolute garbage. The thug laughed, mocking him for choosing a weak blade with 0 potential. He'd regret that, surely. Jinfree just grinned. No sane adventurer would touch this trash, but that's the point. In this world, common sense is just a trap for NPCs. He locked in the basic dagger. Suddenly, the speakers blared. The ceremony was live. They had a 5-minute window to slaughter as many monsters as humanly possible. Within seconds, a swarm of altar-exclusive insects descended, completely surrounding the island. The honey centipede monsters whose venom could rot a man from the inside out. A cocky trainee nearby sneered, telling Jinfree to try not to kick the bucket, before flashing a toxic smirk. Jinfree ignored the shade. He had dealt with enough annoying NPCs during the baptism to care. The trial erupted. As the monsters swarmed, Jinfree realized their attack patterns were carbon copies of the original game mechanics. This meant their fatal flaws remained identical. As a centipede lunged, he muttered that it was making a massive mistake by underestimating him, then unsheathed his blade, delivering a lethal strike that sliced the creature clean in half. A system alert flashed, enemy defeated. The surrounding trainees stood frozen, completely blindsided by his explosive speed. Witnessing that flawless kill sparked a wave of pure jealousy in the arrogant spearman's eyes. A low-tier dagger shouldn't deal that much damage, but Jin knew every game has its glitches, and this world was no different. In this specific map, hitting a centipede's critical point with a basic dagger triggered an instant kill exploit. This was a secret known only to Jinfree, and he was ready to exploit it to the absolute fullest. While the rest struggled against the swarming pests, the rival swept his spear, impaling 2 monsters simultaneously. He barked a laugh, flexing his skills and bragging to the crowd. Jinfree just watched him with a cold, judgmental stare, realizing the loudmouth was just attracting more aggro. Being a spearman wasn't exactly a top-tier flex for pro players anyway. Suddenly, a centipede lunged. Jin shifted his weight effortlessly, sidestepping the creature as it zoomed past his head. He evaded a second strike with a grin. Feeling the adrenaline, he realized this reality was way more thrilling than the game. As the next insect charged, he braced his core and blurred forward, vaporizing the monster in a flash of steel. The ceremony finally wrapped up. Now their baptism performance would determine their future class and combat destiny. The spearman managed 7 kills, unlocking only 3 mediocre options: Hunter Potion Maker or Shield Maker. He was visibly salty about his trash choices, and the girl beside him looked just as disappointed. She was aiming for Summoner while the dude in glasses failed to score a single kill, getting rejected instantly. However, that cocky upstart took down 15 monsters and snatched the prestigious Swordsman class. He shot Jin a smug look, then walked over to see what kind of trash class the quiet guy ended up with. One look at Jin's screen left him speechless. Every single profession in the game was unlocked for him. Jin had slaughtered 33 monsters. The rival suddenly felt small, stammering that his swordsman pick was still pretty elite. Jin gave him a pity nod, knowing that a swordsman class only had a 2% drop rate for 15 kills. That meant the guy was actually insanely lucky, even if he was acting like a total clown. Swordsman and Summoner were the meta, but Jin decided to break the mold and pick something totally unexpected. The system confirmed his choice, granting him a starter kit tailored specifically for his new unconventional specialty. His official title, Potion Maker. His secret weapon, the legendary synthesis skill. The announcement pinged for everyone. The crowd went dead silent before the rival screamed, "Are you for real?" Jin just smirked at the haters and opened his inventory completely unbothered by their confusion. In the hands of a pro, no class is useless. It is all about how you play the game. His 33 kills paid off. His inventory was stacked with 5 venomous stingers, 9 wings, and 3 vials of rare blood. These were exclusive drops that could only be harvested right here in the tutorial zone. As the rival watched in confusion, Jin activated synthesis to forge a weapon the world was not ready for. Fusing the stinger wing and blood, he birthed a terrifying new blade, the centipede dagger. Rank unknown. Attack 66. Durability 1500. This thing was a literal beast with 3 hidden skills. While 2 skills were locked, he gained access to Perception, an active skill that deals triple damage to enemy weak points. In this world, most players rely on their level and class to survive viewing gear as secondary. They think weapons are just basic tools, but they could not be more wrong. There exists a tier of legendary gear that ignores levels entirely manifesting god-tier power on its own. Pro players call these hidden weapons. With his new blade, Jin finally set foot on the first continent. He arrived at the rookie hub city. Scanning the familiar streets, a smirk played on his lips. Nothing had changed. After grabbing an apple from a local vendor, he stepped into the shadows to plot his next move. With a class selected and a broken weapon in hand, it was time to unleash his master plan. The objective is brutal, yet basic. Every continent hides an S-class dungeon, and the mission is clear: slay every boss. To conquer all 7 continents, our hero needs massive power-ups, making a dungeon dive his only option. While most rookies crawl from rank F, he's no amateur playing in the mud. He plunges straight into a rank C forest portal, home to deadly guardians and a lurking boss. Upon entry, the system issues a chilling lockdown. There's no escape until the dungeon is cleared. He checks his stats. HP stands at 1, 22 mana at 30, and strength at 21. With defense at 27 and agility at 19, he scans the terrain, calculating his next move. This zone recommends levels 17 to 30. For a low-level beginner, this would be a death trap. Lacking proper armor, he ventures deeper only to be ambushed by a level 17 devil plant. Gripping his dagger, he stares down a 16-level gap. Most would run, but he's just getting started. One strike, that's all he needs. Suddenly, the system blares, a warning the plant is lashing out. He sidesteps the whip-like vine with effortless grace. He's seen these attack patterns 1,000 times before. Targeting the central bud, he leaps high, bringing his blade down in a devastating vertical arc. Critical hit, his perception skill ignites and the monster shrivels into nothingness. A smirk plays on his lips as his level skyrockets to 10. Talk about massive early game gains. The progression feels almost broken. In this world, every level up automatically bolsters his health and mana. He nets 5 bonus points per level, leaving him with a juicy 45 points to distribute. He dumps everything into defense, satisfied with his current strength, then gives his dagger a grateful pat. This centipede dagger is a beast, boosting his attack power to a staggering 66. Rank B dungeons are now on the menu, but the dagger's true lethality is still warming up. Grinning, he pivots to some hardcore experience grinding before hunting the main boss. Suddenly, 3 level 20 snakes slide out of the shadows, a rare 1% encounter rate. As a serpent lunges, he dances back, feeling the adrenaline spike in his veins. These predators are vicious. Another snake strikes from his blind spot, forcing a desperate twisting dodge. He breaks into a sprint to reset the field. Step 1. Keep a cool head and survive. He's hunted these before. He knows their fatal flaw lies in the soft tissue of their necks. A precise jab there deals triple damage. He charges back, ready to end this quickly. To his shock, the snakes coordinate, one blocking his path to shield the other. Clever bastards. The third snake sinks its fangs into his shoulder. He snarls, decapitating the beast in a fury. His level hits 13, but the system flashes red. Health is reaching a critical low. He needs a safe zone to patch up. That single bite nearly erased his entire HP bar. But Jin Hui isn't worried. His massive investment into defense was built exactly for this crisis. Hovering at death's door, he smiles. The perfect conditions for his dagger's hidden skill are finally met. Agility surges to 190. He becomes a blur, ready to shred the remaining monsters. This is Divine Speed, a passive skill that decuples his agility when health hits rock bottom. Snakeheads roll as the system chimes. His level has surged to 17. Not today, Grim Reaper, he mutters, finally taking a moment to breathe under the trees. Slumping against the bark, he exhales, impressed by the massive power jump he just achieved. He's beat up, but healing now would deactivate his god-tier speed buff. Losing such a massive advantage would be a waste. He'll gamble on this razor's edge a bit longer. Back on the hunt, he makes quick work of a bizarre creature wandering the forest. Surveying the carnage, he grins. With this skill active, clearing monsters is a total breeze. Speed leveling mode is engaged. Once the boss falls, he'll have the materials for a new synthesis. He needs water, thorny grass, blueberries, and a caterpillar skull to craft the next item. Adding jelly leaves, blood flowers, and chestnut seeds will finally forge a powerful D-rank treasure. Gathering these materials is a total grind. But while he's distracted, a savage bear lunges from the shadows. He drops the beast effortlessly, his mind still racing. This massive shopping list feels more like cooking than combat. It's too realistic a total buzzkill. Still, whining won't fill his bags, so he moves on. Time's ticking before the boss fight. Luckily, he scores the first two items right by the waterfall's edge. Item 3, a cluster of blueberries. He's finally making progress until a familiar voice cuts through the air. Spinning around, he spots two figures emerging from the brush. One face instantly triggers a bad memory. They're from his old village. The guy smirks, shocked that a certified loser is actually out here adventuring. It's Julius, a guy who started his career years ago. Jinfree stays silent, analyzing his old neighbor. Weird that a veteran is still grinding low-level zones. Then Julius opens his mouth again. A potion maker. Seriously, Julius mocks his trash gear while his buddy asks, who's the random scrub? Julius explains they're childhood friends, bragging about how Jin's family was the brokest in town. He was always a weirdo with a tragic backstory, dead dad, sick mom. His friend just shrugs, calling him unlucky. Why him Jin's life was rough, orphaned young, with a sister carrying the burden of their bedridden mother. He raids just to survive. Julius snaps, enraged that Jin is totally zoning out during his monologue. You ignoring me. That look says you're overdue for a beating. Julius's ego is clearly bruised. He snatches Jin's collar, pulling him close while deciding how to teach him a lesson. A bone-chilling roar shatters the air. They freeze as Julius's partner gazes upward in pure terror. It's a monster. The floor boss, a level 31. Cyclops looms over them like a mountain of death. Julius screams for his buddy to move. They need to bail, and they need to do it now. Too late. You're already targeted, Jin mutters. Seconds later, the Cyclops' club crushes the friend into paste. Staring at the carnage, Julius loses it. He collapses into the dirt, letting out a pathetic, terrified scream. The beast locks onto its next meal. Jin's system pings this monster, possesses the all-seeing eye. Fighting this behemoth with such a level gap is suicide. Its physical defense is practically impenetrable. He's next on the menu if he doesn't move. Tracking the massive club, he narrowly evades certain death. Worse yet, the Cyclops has a lock-on skill. Once it picks a target, it never lets go. System alert, you are now the target. The all-seeing eye has locked onto Jinfree. Escape isn't an option. Jin draws his blade just as the beast lunges, forcing him to leap back. He dodges, but the Cyclops is reading his every move. Only his divine speed keeps him alive. Julius gawks in shock. Can this really be Jinfree? How is he moving like that? Jin knows running won't win this. He has to go on the offensive. He sprints up the club's handle toward the giant's hand. The beast roars, reaching out to crush him. He vaults into the air, hovering right above its exposed neck. This is his chance. He strikes hard. 0 damage. His worst fears are confirmed, as the Cyclops retaliates with a lethal club swing. He hits the deck fast. This level gap is making the fight feel like an impossible mountain. Julius cowers in the bushes, paralyzed but curious. How can a loser move with such insane speed? Is he using some secret buff? Jin dodges another strike, frustration bubbling as he analyzes the situation. He's missing pieces for the recipe. He's got the berries, grass, and blood flower, but he needs more. The remaining items are close. Without this oversized pest, he'd have been finished ages ago. His eyes lock onto the bush where Julius is hiding. Jackpot, the last 3 ingredients are right there. He charges toward the terrified coward. Where is he going? Julius shrieks as Jin closes the distance. Jin snatches the items and keeps sprinting. He spots a nearby lake, the source for his final ingredient. Diving into the water, he triggers synthesis. Boom, E-rank poison crafted. This stuff eats HP every second. Julius watches, confused. Is he stupid? Doesn't he realize that low-rank poisons won't do a thing? A Cyclops is immune to trash-tier toxins. Jin just smirks, knowing exactly what he's doing. His real plan, fuse that E-rank junk with the deadly C-rank venom he took from the snake. He brewed a lethal D-rank toxin. The boy was hyped, but the flex didn't stop there. Infusing the venom into his blade, he unlocked the poison attribute. Jin Free gave it a test swing. Grinning at his weapon's lethal glow, Julius watched in awe as the boy spammed alchemy skills. Suddenly, a roar ripped through the air. The beast found them, and Jin casually apologized for the delay. He suggested round 2. Without further ado, the Cyclops smashed its massive club into the depths. Missing its mark, the Titan swung blindly in a rage. Jin Free danced through the chaos, dodging easily. He slid toward the giant's neck, his movements blurred. His muscle memory was absolutely dialed in. He carved into the beast's throat. Toxic essence flooded its veins, and the system flagged a severe status. The Cyclops' HP began plummeting. But out of nowhere, the monster flexed its massive arms to recover. It forcibly purged the toxin. Jin didn't flinch, launching a relentless barrage to restack the deadly debuff. He vowed to keep the venom flowing. Every time the poison took hold, the cycle repeated itself. The beast would heal, and Jin would reinfect it instantly. This grueling loop drained the monster's stamina. It was time for the finisher. Jin soared into the sky, lining up a strike on the eye. His blade connected, triggering a critical hit. The perception skill surged, exposing the monster's ultimate weakness. A blood-curdling scream echoed as the Titan finally buckled, crashing into the dirt with a thud. System messages confirmed the kill, awarding massive experience. Nearby, Julius watched from the shadows, completely paralyzed. He stared at the monster slayer, questioning if this was really the same Jin Free he knew. When their eyes met, Julius bolted in terror. Jin ignored the coward and checked his status window. He hit level 23. With 90 stat points banked, he prepared to dump them into his build. But first, he had loot to collect. Opening his inventory, he claimed the spoils of his conquest. 350,000 gold and a D-rank Cyclops fang appeared. Jin grinned at the massive haul. He planned to send half the gold to his mom. Solo play was a vibe, no splitting rewards. Finally, he grabbed the real prize, a C-rank Cyclops eye. It looked cursed, so he tucked it away. One last ingredient remained. With a smile, he knew his dream weapon was almost within reach. Next stop, the Flat Plains dungeon. As he warmed up, memories of this D-rank grind rushed back. His goal, taking down every continent boss. But first, he needed the legendary weapon stored here. To crack the goddess's riddle, he needed the eye and one more item. That's why he came. The grind never stops. As soon as monsters detected him, they swarmed the trespasser in a frenzy. He cleared them out instantly, fueled by one vision, a peaceful world and a rich family. He'd silence every hater once he reached the top. After wiping some hounds, his level spiked. He dreamed of purging all monsters to secure peace and provide for his family's every need. Once he reached the peak, he'd finally silence every hater who ever dared to doubt him. After wiping the hounds, his level spiked. Meanwhile, the guild news in town was blowing up. The association announced today's main star, a rookie who slaughtered 33 monsters during his baptism. Setting a new record, he became the hottest topic among every adventurer in the tavern. According to the guild, his name is Jin Free Van Ride. Black hair, blue eyes. He's currently in the starting zone. In other news, some suspicious hunters were just arrested. They were busted for overfarming cobalt birds. Meanwhile, Jin slew another mob, feeling skeptical. He'd been hunting all day and still hadn't encountered one despite farming tons of materials. But the cobalt birds were MIA. They shouldn't be this rare across the 7-continent dungeons. These range from F to A rank, plus a C rank den, where the boss himself lives. The birds should have been here. Annoyed, Jin decided to head back to the city for intel. He arrived just as a shop was getting ransacked. Thugs were hauling out bags of loot. They shoved Jin aside and bolted laughing. He watched them go, wondering if they were robbers. These arrogant punks began bullying everyone in sight, even targeting a woman and her little girl. She crumbled under their brutal strikes, tumbling down the stairs with a terrified shriek. But just before impact, Jinfrey caught her midair, his gaze piercing the thugs who were already bolting in fear. The grateful mother thanked her savior and pulled her trembling daughter close. That is when the shopkeeper approached, spitting curses under his breath. Those lowlifes were Mountain Hound's trash. Jinfrey asked for details and the old man revealed a new rising guild. They had seized the whole district, extorting protection money from every shop. They had even looted all his precious inventory. Word on the street was, they also slaughtered every cobalt bird in sight. The puzzle pieces clicked for Jinfrey, though he was shocked by how easily the intel dropped into his lap. The man let out a heavy sigh, claiming these monsters lacked even a shred of honor. They would not hesitate to bruise women or children. If this continued, he would be forced to close. Jinfrey watched him leave, eyes narrowing. This is bad. A guild means a massive group of adventurers. Soloing them is risky, but harming the innocent. And wiping out his quest birds, now his blood was boiling. This was not just business, it was personal. He trailed the punks, ready to deliver some justice, and quickly located their filthy hideout. Inside, one thug was shamelessly bragging about his loot. He mentioned their leader was planning to expand their territory. Influenced, Jinfrey realized these guys were nothing more than a glorified band of thieves. Where were the cobalt bird feathers? He spotted them moving crates, including a box filled with glass jars. Inside were the missing feathers. He ground his teeth in fury. So they were the reason he could not find a single bird. Meanwhile, a thug asked his buddy if he had heard the latest rumor from the association. Apparently some freak wiped out 33 monsters in 5 minutes. Total cap right. They laughed it off as fake news, but Jinfrey did not care. He was busy plotting his heist for those feathers. Suddenly a cold blade pressed against his neck. A voice hissed, demanding to know what he was doing there. He spun around, heart racing. They all had the thief class and stealth skills, no wonder he had not sensed the guy's approach. Forcing a nervous grin, he raised his hands, claiming he was just a lost passerby. The thug was not buying it. He sneered, mentioning a rival guild spy who had used that same pathetic excuse yesterday. Should he explain what happened to that guy, or let Jinfrey find out the hard way? Jinfrey looked away, then instantly blurred to the side as the thief's blade whistled through the air. He counterattacked, driving a dagger into the guy's leg before slamming his hilt into the base of his skull. Lights out. The body crashed into a stack of boxes, the loud thud echoing throughout the warehouse. The others heard it. They swarmed the area instantly. Seeing Jinfrey, their faces twisted with pure aggression. Another rat from the other guild, they barked. Jinfrey tried to de-escalate, insisting he was not looking for a fight. He just wanted the feathers, but the bloody dagger in his hand told a much more violent story. He went silent. The thug demanded to know if he had been stalking them and what he had done to their boy. Jinfrey's patience finally snapped. Fine, if they would not listen to reason, he would just have to speak their language, violence. They lunged. He expertly parried a sword strike before delivering a bone-crunching palm strike to the guy's face. The man clutched his shattered, bleeding nose, howling in pain. Jinfrey knew he had to end this fast. If he did not clear the room, reinforcements would swarm him like hornets. Taking on a whole mob was just annoying. An idiot tried to sneak him from behind, but Jinfrey dropped low and buried a kick deep into the guy's ribs. As he tumbled away, a spearman charged. Jinfrey did not flinch. He caught the shaft mid-thrust, stopping it dead. With a brutal counter, he punched the guy's gut. A system notification flashed. He had landed a critical hit on a weak point. His perception skill surged. Seeing the guy doubled over in agony, Jinfrey offered a quick, "My bad." Another thug charged, screaming profanities. Jinfrey dipped under the wild swing like a ghost. He smashed his hilt into the guy's jaw, sending him straight to the floor. This chaos was exactly what he had hoped to avoid. All this trouble for some damn feathers. Distracted by the mess, he did not sense the shadow looming behind him. This new opponent was a pro. No yelling, no warning, just a silent strike. But Jinfrey was not some amateur. He felt the killing intent and blocked the blow perfectly. The man smirked, impressed someone could actually parry his sneak attack. Jinfrey narrowed his eyes. Was this another stealth skill user? This was about to get complicated. He shoved the girl aside, retreating with a cold sneer as he began to speak. He introduced himself as Soubi Muso, the Mountain Hound's second in command. Jinfrey just gave him a totally blank stare. Is that supposed to be impressive? Jinfrey scoffed. Enraged, Souv lunged, recognizing him as the brat who blocked his path before. He regretted not finishing Jinfrey off sooner. However, our main character effortlessly swatted his strike aside with zero effort. All that looting and you still use trash gear? Jinfrey teased. Souve just shot him a cocky, punchable smirk. He admitted the kid had skills for a teenager. Was it just pure luck that he scored such a legendary weapon? Souve kept yapping to distract him, claiming that a high-tier weapon is nothing more than a flashy, useless toy. To him, professional mastery was the only thing that mattered. Jinfrey silently agreed. It was painfully obvious he was outclassed. Souve swung again, but Jinfrey danced around the blade. He began analyzing his opponent's pathetic state and starter gear. His outfit gave him away instantly. He was wearing the basic rags assigned to the Potion Master starter class. Souve bragged that, despite his weak class, his rare weapon was the only reason he was still breathing. Sensing the thief's greed for his gear, Jinfrey grew cautious. He instantly summoned a flurry of shimmering daggers. First time fighting a real adventurer, he asked, launching 3 blades with lethal precision. Souve barely managed to parry. Souv claimed victory goes to whoever identifies the enemy's class first. He figured Jinfrey was just a basic physical brawler. He demanded to know Jinfrey's profession. "Let me guess," the main character replied. "You're just a common thief, right?" The moment Jinfree mentioned the stealth skill, Suve's composure completely shattered into nervous agitation and shock. He desperately lied, claiming to be a summoner instead. That clumsy cover-up only proved Jinfree was right about him. Fighting a stealth user was going to be a massive headache if he didn't end this quickly. If he hesitated, he'd lose his precious dagger to this creep. Without a second thought, he charged into the fray. Suddenly, two shadows blurred behind him. Before he could strike, they pounced from the darkness in a coordinated ambush. They were using stealth to close the gap unnoticed. Jinfree twisted his body narrowly, avoiding their synchronized killing blows. He needed breathing room fast. In the chaos, he accidentally slammed his dagger's hilt right into the leader's crotch. A system notification popped up immediately. He had landed a devastating critical hit on the opponent's most sensitive vitals. With his perception skill active, the guy felt every ounce of the agony. A blood-curdling scream erupted from his lungs. The shockwave shattered nearby windows. He collapsed instantly, foaming at the mouth as his panicked allies rushed to help. Seeing their leader's eyes roll back made the thugs tremble. "My bad," Jinfree muttered. "That definitely wasn't intentional." He stepped closer, his aura intensifying. "This isn't over. Unless you want the same fate, hand over the loot." He demanded the cobalt bird feathers immediately. Terrified, the thugs scrambled to grab the box, fearing for their lives. But their luck changed as a massive wave of reinforcements arrived, led by a man shouting accusations at the MC. He pointed at Jinfree, screaming that he was a guild spy who had slaughtered their comrades in cold blood. "Wait, you've got it all wrong," Jinfree exclaimed, realizing this situation was spiraling out of control way too fast. The angry mob drew their steel. "You've got guts to mess with the Mountain Hounds, kid," one of them roared. Then they noticed the body on the ground. When they saw Suve's twitching foamy form, pure panic set in. "What happened to the deputy?" they cried. But Suve was in a different dimension of pain, completely unresponsive. They couldn't believe Suve had been taken down. "No way," one laughed. "He must have been wasted on cheap booze again." They assumed he lost because he was drunk. Jinfree just smiled awkwardly, knowing it was just his own overconfidence. Finally, the big boss appeared. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as the guild leader stepped into the light. He demanded an explanation for the noise. His men immediately began barking out their side of the story. Jinfree studied him, wondering if this was the true powerhouse. "Who dared touch my men?" the leader growled deeply. The thugs pointed trembling fingers at Jinfree. It was him. He even wrecked Suve single-handedly. The master sized him up with a sharp, calculating gaze. "My men are trash, but why would you bother attacking them?" When Jinfree revealed he was a solo player, the master smirked. "You took them all down by yourself. Impressive." He burst into a boisterous laugh and invited Jinfree to join his guild, leaving the main character totally stunned. His subordinates protested the decision, but the leader silenced them. To him, raw talent was worth more than loyalty. "Normally I'd make you pay," he grinned, "but someone who can crush Soubi is a talent I can't let go." He swaggered over, draping a heavy arm across Jinfree's shoulders while grinning like a fool. The man was so hyped, he was practically speechless. He suggested hitting a tavern to celebrate the new recruit, but Jinfree was already reaching his breaking point with this nonsense. Coldly, he shrugged off the unwanted touch, asking if this was some pathetic joke. He was only there for the cobalt bird feathers. Why would anyone join a bottom-tier, third-rate guild if they had already processed the paperwork? That was their mistake to fix. He demanded his items so he could bounce. Insulting the guild status struck a nerve, and the man barked back in a rage. Had he heard that right, Jinfree didn't stutter, doubling down that they were third-rate cowards who only preyed on the weak. They were total fodder against real strength. Suddenly, the man snapped, lunging forward with a lethal swing that our hero barely evaded. He danced away just as the massive strike cratered the floor. Fuming, the man snarled for him to take back those words. Impressed but deadly, he claimed no one had ever dodged him before. He wouldn't kill the kid, but he'd definitely break every bone. He planned to sell him into slavery. Jinfree instantly sensed that this monstrous pressure was way too intense for a simple thief. The atmosphere shifted as the guild leader initiated a full-blown assault. Deftly dodging, Jinfree created some space. He knew he had to finish this fight without exposing his secret skills. To wrap this up fast, he lunged forward, staying low to the ground to strike, before the man could even react. He evaded the counter, vanished behind the brute, and landed a heavy blow. The man checked the spot, baffled by the lack of blood. Despite the power behind the hit, Jinfree had only used the flat of his blade. He turned back, tracking his foe's every twitch. The man sheathed his weapon, his face darkening with a grim realization that allowed Jinfree to finally identify his hidden class. Once the massacre skill activated, doubling his lethality for 3 minutes, it became clear he was facing a high-level fighter. The guild lackeys started hooting and hollering for their boss, while the leader glared at Jinfree with murderous intent. He charged, fists flying. But instead of crushing Jinfree's skull, his knuckles shattered the stone wall as the boy vanished. This skill was insane. One clean hit meant instant death. Suddenly, the man flickered, reappearing right in front of Jinfree's face. As a death blow swung toward him, the boy thrust his dagger upward perfectly, sniping his opponent's most vulnerable weak points. Critical damage exploded. The guild leader collapsed into unconsciousness, leaving his subordinates jaw-dropped and frozen in absolute shock. They stared at Jinfree, paralyzed with fear. Whispers began to circulate that this monster might actually be that new guy. Rumors described a black-haired, blue-eyed player, wearing a basic potion maker's robe, the exact outfit standing right in front of them. Realizing the description was a perfect match, panic set in. They shrieked in terror, realizing the nightmare was actually true. Is that the legendary blue-eyed Jinfree? Before he could even get a word out, the entire gang bolted in pure cowardice. He watched them flee, confused as to how his name got out. Had they seriously just abandoned their leader like that? Shrugging it off, he scratched his head. It wasn't his problem. He was only there to secure those feathers. After finishing his business at the shop, he set his sights on Sigrun Fall's home to a treacherous rank B dungeon. Inside the depths, he confronted the level 35 Baphomet boss and wiped it out without breaking a sweat. Honestly, it was mid. The Cyclops was way tougher. Now it was time to finally visit the fallen goddess. Standing before her stone image, he studied her empty eye socket. Solving this ancient puzzle promised top-tier loot. He produced the eye. He vowed to restore her lost glory. It didn't take a genius to figure out exactly what the statue was missing. Most players would have just jammed the Cyclops' eye into her face and called it a day. But Jinfree spotted a hidden crack in her wings, the perfect slot for the cobalt feather. Suddenly, the system alert chimed. He'd cleared the secret quest. The statue erupted in divine light, and a single glowing tear escaped her restored eye. The goddess couldn't hold back. Her tears of joy moved to her core by his selfless gesture. The tear splashed into a golden chalice, manifesting his second hidden weapon, Lucifer's celestial halo. This insane gear boosted luck by 100 and durability by 2000. Plus, it granted passive mind reading. The next passive was Tyrannical Sense, allowing him to track every living soul within a 5-kilometer radius. A final mysterious skill remained locked behind hidden conditions. Jinfree reached out and gripped the radiant halo. This grind was no joke. Grinning, he thanked the goddess for the carry and equipped his new divine artifact. It hovered over his head instantly, making him look like he'd already ascended to heaven. He swatted at it, annoyed. He hated standing out. With this glowing ring, people would treat him like a total freak instead of a badass. With the loot secured, it was finally time to tackle the S-rank dungeons. He stood before the massive gates. A massive roadblock appeared. Agni Volcano was an S-rank death trap, and guild mandates required a 7-man squad for entry. He needed a crew fast. In this world, clearing an S-rank boss meant a demonic rebirth somewhere else on the map. Victory grants a legendary title, the ultimate golden ticket to the second region. He needed that pass immediately. Just as he planned his move hushed, awestruck whispers erupted behind him. High-level players had arrived. "Yo, check them out," an adventurer nudged his pal. A squad of fire mages. Jinfree pivoted, his curiosity piqued. His eyes locked onto Freyna Ashbury, a level 45 powerhouse mage. Instantly, he triggered his mind-reading ability. Waves of raw ambition rolled off her. She was dying to raid that S-rank, but lacked one crucial frontline fighter. He smirked. That expensive halo was already paying for itself. Across the room, the mage stood up with resolve. "I'm calling it," she declared. "We split today." Seizing the moment, Jinfree stepped into their personal space. He flashed a confident smile, offering to fill their empty slot since they were clearly a man down. Their eyes snapped straight to his halo. He caught the look and winced internally. Even without telepathy, he knew. They were totally clowning him. One guy scoffed, wondering where Jinfree got the nerve to even approach their elite squad. "Hard pass," the guy barked. "We're done recruiting. Go find some other squad to bother newbie." Jinfree peeked into his thoughts. The guy was actually spiraling. He was terrified for their comrade currently hospitalized. Their previous mission went south, leaving their partner in critical condition. Now, they were stuck without a full team. They needed one more soul to bypass the gate. Jinfree eyed Freyna, demanding the actual leader's final verdict. Worry clouded her face. If her drive to enter was this intense, why was she hesitating to accept him? "Mind your business," she snapped, but her thoughts felt heavy. She was paralyzed by fear for her missing father. He vanished in an S-rank raid a month ago, total radio silence. Finally, the pieces of her pain clicked together. She also doubted his survival, eyeing that ridiculous halo. Great, another person thinking he was a walking joke. Shaking it off, he cleared his throat for a proper intro. "The name's Jinfree," he stated with firm authority, "and I'm hitting that S-rank too." Freyna paused that name, ringing a bell as her teammate pointed in shock. "Wait, the Jinfree from the headlines," he yelled. "The rookie who pulled off that insane monster kill streak. The kid who slaughtered 33 monsters during baptism. He looks mid at best. There's no way it's him." He gave a dry chuckle. So he was a viral sensation now. Fame really did find him fast. He hadn't planned on being the main character yet. Freyna squinted, wondering if this meeting was just random luck. She felt like he was peering into her soul. News reports were usually cap, but this guy felt different. He carried the aura of someone who'd seen the world burn. Suddenly, her gut feeling started shifting toward intrigue. A system ping, Frina was catching a vibe. She felt a surge of pure hype. Jinfrey locked eyes with her. "You're in," she commanded, shocking her crew. She stood up and marched toward the dungeon gates without hesitation. "Slow us down and you're monster food," she warned. Jinfrey grinned. Step 1 of the plan was a total success. Dungeon access granted. Moments later, they were standing in the scorching heart of the volcanic depths. They shoved Jinfrey to the front line, the literal kill zone. One wrong move, and he'd be the first course. Frina hung back while her teammate hissed a worried question. "Is this guy really the move boss?" He was sketching. She told him to chill. If things went south, Jinfrey would make the perfect meat shield. The second in line poked Jinfrey. "Yo, you really that viral rookie?" Having missed the tabloids, Jinfrey just stayed silent. He gave a suspicious scowl instead. A system alert flashed. Arthur was spiraling his trust levels, hitting rock bottom. Arthur was convinced he was a fraud. His buddy chimed in, telling him to stop buying the hype. "Look at him. Does that halo scream pro?" To you, Jinfrey's patience was officially wearing thin. That stupid halo was his secret weapon. Suddenly, its secondary ability surged to life, pulsing with ancient power. He sensed a jagged ripple in the mana. Monsters were cascading down the peaks like an avalanche of death. Mages, shields up. Now he roared. They just stared back at him like he'd lost his mind. "Move it or die. This whole place is about to blow." One guy scoffed, clearly annoyed by the command. Then the earth screamed as magma erupted. Jinfrey was right. Pick up the pace. We're out of time. The cavern ceiling disintegrated. As massive boulders rained down, the mage desperately unleashed his reflection magic. As the protective barrier shimmered into existence, the MC braced for the stone rain, hoping the storm would pass quickly. "Hold your ground," the captain barked. She stepped forth, summoning Meteor Breeze as a massive fireball ignited above her head. With a sharp swing of her staff, she launched the blaze into the rubble, shielding her team. Jinfrey's eyes tracked her. He realized she wielded pure fire, marveling at how effortlessly she swatted away those crushing stones like they were nothing. Suddenly, the earth fractured. Arthur plunged into the abyss, but the MC's hand shot out, catching him in a desperate grip. Arthur stared into the dark void in terror. Then the very ledge Jinfrey was clinging to gave way and crumbled instantly. Both men were sent spiraling into the deep. By pure chance, they hit something plush. A massive downy bat was waiting below. At the chasm's floor, the MC exhaled. Luck was on their side, likely thanks to the Halo's 100-point fortune boost. However, the beast wasn't thrilled about being a crash pad. As the monster's eyes locked onto them, the vibe turned lethal. Jinfrey sensed danger. The moment they scrambled off its back, the bat's fury exploded, its eyes glowing with predatory rage. The MC warned that then this beast absorbs every strike, only to hurl that same destructive energy back at its foes. "Watch your step," Arthur snapped that he already knew, but the MC cut him off as the beast prepared to strike. A deafening roar shook the cave. Jinfrey lunged, grabbing Arthur and hauling him away just as the environment became a kill zone. He narrowly dodged a barrage of lethal debris. Pinning Arthur against the stone wall, the MC's voice dripped with sharp irritation. "I told you to be careful. Do you have a death wish?" He turned back, weapons ready for the monster's next move. Staring at the crater where his head had just been, Arthur realized he'd be a pancake if not for that save. This thing wasn't even S rank yet, but it was deadly. The bat screeched and charged, closing the distance in a blur. In one fluid motion, the MC's dagger flashed. The beast fell instantly. Arthur could only stare up in absolute stunned silence. A one-shot kill, he wondered. Above them, Frina channeled her magic into the rift, searching desperately for any sign of life. Her teammate's voice trembled with concern. "They're okay," she breathed, confirming Arthur was alive. Her mind drifted back to Jinfrey. That mysterious guy had risked everything for her brother. Plus, he'd sensed the tremors long before the ground even started shaking. The squad moved to descend, but she held them back. A greater war awaited them, and they couldn't afford any distractions. Wasting stamina wasn't an option. Their mission was clear: eradicate the demons and restore peace to their broken, war-torn continent. They'd press on to the summit and reunite later. "Don't sweat it," she said. Arthur was her own flesh and blood. She'd forged him into a warrior herself, yet fear gnawed at her heart. "Stay safe, little brother," she prayed silently. She prayed their father was still out there. Meanwhile, the MC realized the formidable squad captain was actually Arthur's big sister. They were on a desperate rescue mission for their dad. Without missing a beat, the MC decided to press forward. Arthur scrambled after him. "Hey, where are you going? The big boss demon is waiting at the very top." "Are you seriously trying to face a high-level demon?" Arthur yelled. "That's literally a suicide mission, man." The MC ignored the noise. "I'm heading straight for the nest," he stated calmly. Suddenly, his system interface flickered to life. A notification popped up. Arthur was feeling conflicted. His hunger for power was showing. The MC saw his perfect opening. "If you want real strength, then keep up," the MC challenged. Soon, they arrived at the heart of the beast's lair. Arthur let out a shaky laugh. So this is the freak show. A massive flock of level 41 phoenixes surrounded them. The sheer pressure was enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Arthur scanned the area, his heart sinking at their levels. These birds were way deadlier than that bat. Without a word, the MC unsheathed his blade and vanished into the fray. He began carving through the phoenixes like a whirlwind. Arthur watched in awe. One-on-one was fine, but a whole flock. Taking on a swarm seemed impossible. Suddenly, a phoenix dove at his back. He ducked just as a wave of heat passed. Dodging the searing fire, he whipped out his dagger. Above him, the phoenix screeched, circling its prey like a fiery vulture. Close combat was a trap. Switching tactics, he grabbed his bow, seeking the perfect vantage point to rain down some arrows. His arrow found its mark straight through the head. "Don't underestimate me. Jin free," he shouted, feeling a rush of confidence. He wasn't going down without a fight. But when he turned to check on the MC, his jaw hit the floor. A mountain of dead birds surrounded the MC. While Arthur struggled with one, Jinfree had already started grilling some phoenix meat. He was actually eating. Arthur stared horrified. Did you seriously just wipe out the entire flock already?" he stammered. "Tastes like chicken," the MC muttered, taking another bite. Suddenly, his stomach churned. Guess he overindulged on the spicy bird. Too bad it didn't give any buffs. Right then, his sensory skill pinged. A massive surge of magical power was approaching. Grabbing a quick bite, he scowled, his mind racing. Why did this have to happen right now? Out of the abyss crawled a level 45 salamander, the dungeon's final, terrifying boss. This was a total curveball. Jin Woo's stomach churned as his stats plummeted, forcing him to retch. "You okay?" Arthur cried out. Wiping his chin, the main character warned him to stay sharp. This beast grows stronger by devouring humans. Those previous mobs were nothing compared to this predator. Suddenly, a massive tail lashed out. Arthur blocked the strike, but the impact left him bloodied. "Hang in there," Jin Woo shouted. Spitting crimson, Arthur gasped that the monster's power was just too insane. The main character stepped up, telling the kid to find cover while he handled this monster solo. The salamander was already salivating, its hungry eyes locked on Jin Woo like he was a 5-star meal. He smirked. "Got indigestion, big guy, because I am definitely going to be a hard pill to swallow." The beast began convulsing violently. Suddenly, it spewed a torrent of toxic, foul-smelling sludge onto the floor. Amidst the gore and human remains, a familiar sword gleamed within the pile of toxic filth. Arthur froze. That was his father's blade. Jin Woo steeled himself, desperate to end this before he vomited. The boy collapsed, realizing the tattered gear and sword belonged to his fallen father. A system notification flashed. Arthur was consumed by a murderous rage, hell-bent on slaying his father's killer. With eyes full of hate, the boy glared at the beast, swearing to avenge his father's death. He unsheathed his steel and charged blindly. "Stop!" Jin Woo yelled. They could not afford to be this reckless. One whip of the monster's tail sent Arthur flying, yet the boy refused to stay down. He scrambled up, still screaming for blood. Before he could throw his life away, Jin Woo tackled him hard. "I said, wait," the main character barked. Arthur thrashed wildly, demanding to be let go immediately. "Do you have a death wish?" Jin Woo snapped. "You cannot solo." This Arthur questioned how he even knew. "Think, you idiot. What about your family? They will have no one if you die here too." The cold truth finally broke his trance. Jin Woo stared him down, making sure the lesson sunk in. This was not a fight for a lone warrior. Arthur broke down in tears, finally nodding in defeat. Grief and self-loathing hit him hard. The system confirmed Arthur was drowning in a sea of helplessness. Softening his grip, Jin Woo apologized for the shouting. He turned to the boss and started planning. "You are a hunter, right? Not the best fit here, but check your inventory. Anything useful inside." He listed arrows, healing potions, and downy bat hair. Jin Woo was stunned by that last bizarre item. Since he had not looted it manually, the main character realized it was a perk of Arthur's passive skill. Every hunter needs their tools. Arthur looked lost, suggesting they discuss the details after the fight. "Listen close," Jin Woo whispered. "We take this thing down together, but keep it a secret." This boss was a tank, so brute force was out. They had to play it smart and stealthy. As they geared up, the salamander lunged. Jin Woo signaled for Arthur to hit him with a buff. The boy triggered a battle inspiration effect, a powerful spell that would empower them for 5 minutes. Instantly, his strength and agility surged by 30%, making his movements a total blur. Sensing the power shift, the monster hissed. Arthur held the bat hair, confused about the plan. "That is for later," Jin Woo winked. With the buff active, his nausea vanished. Time for the main event. "Stick to the plan," he roared, charging ahead. He gripped his dagger as the beast lunged. This thing was a massive tank. He needed to whittle down its health with rapid, precise strikes. His blades danced, infusing the beast with poison. Now, the salamander was too distracted to defend itself. With the toxin taking hold, Arthur seized the opening. An arrow whistled through the air, piercing the skull. Jin Woo smirked. Now, it was the kid's time to shine. Aim for the vitals, he thought. Having a partner really paid off. Hitting that forehead from range would have been a nightmare solo. Arthur nocked another arrow. As Jin Woo reapplied the poison, the boy buried a shaft into the monster's head. The beast whimpered as it entered rage mode stats, spiking as the main character lunged for the kill. As the salamander lashed out with its tail, he casually blocked the strike with a tuft of fur, a confident smirk playing on his lips. Strategy was key here. In this phase, the monster's weakness had shifted from its forehead to a new target. The front legs were now exposed. Having briefed Arthur earlier, the archer locked onto the vital spot with lethal precision. An arrow pierced one leg as Jinfrey sliced through the other with clinical precision. Lethal toxin surged through the beast's veins. Suddenly the system flared. Mind's eye had been fully awakened. As the creature shrieked in agony, they unleashed a relentless barrage. Victory was close as the salamander began to stumble. Arthur halted his assault upon seeing the beast falter. Our hero stepped forward to face the dying monster. Its cloak of fire flickered and died. The massive lizard was now teetering on the very edge of oblivion. Yet if it consumed the surrounding heat, a terrifying regeneration process would ignite. System alert self-resurrection mode engaged. The salamander's health bar began ticking upward once more. The heat intensified to a blinding level, making Arthur fear the monster had become truly unkillable. If it fully recovered, their 5-minute window for a kill would vanish. They had to strike right now. Arthur took aim, signaling Jinfrey. The warrior glanced back with a knowing grin, signaling that he was ready. He charged, eager to end this oversized lizard, as the salamander lunged forward for one final clash. He jammed his dagger in, forcing its jaws wide. Tossing a furball inside, he barked an order to Arthur. Arthur didn't miss a beat. As the furball hovered before the beast's maw, he released a devastating shot. The arrow struck true, driving the furball deep into the monster's gullet in one fluid motion. Silence followed. Arthur felt the tension rise, but then, our protagonist calmly began the final countdown. On 1, the beast detonated from within. The bat fur had absorbed the damage and returned it tripled. The system confirmed the buff's end. Thankfully, the debilitating stomach debuff had finally been purged. The salamander's charred remains slammed into the earth. The system chimed, confirming the beast's defeat and experience earned. With the threat neutralized, they climbed to the summit and waited for the rest of their squad. Jinfrey's halo faded as Freina rushed to him. The grim look on his face told the tragic story. He presented their father's blade to her, his hands shaking as he fought back a wave of tears. He choked out that the monster had taken the sword. Freina pulled him into a desperate, comforting embrace. Sobbing, he credited Jinfrey for the victory. Freina's eyes immediately locked onto our mysterious hero. Jinfrey was already silhouetted against the dirt, carving out a final resting place for their fallen father. They joined him in the solemn task. Placing the sword among the stones, Freina wept during their final goodbye. Standing apart, our hero recalled his own childhood, the games with his sister, and the day their world shattered. Freina broke his reverie, offering her deepest gratitude for everything he had done for her family. He brushed it off coolly, claiming Arthur did the heavy lifting. The archer could certainly hold his own. Arthur wasn't buying it. He knew exactly who the real monster here was. Without Jinfrey, they'd be dead. Jinfrey's strength defied all rumors. To avoid the awkward praise, the man quickly shifted focus to the summit. The real nightmare awaited them at the peak. A legendary creature ruled these volcanic slopes, the steel bear. Freina's expression hardened into cold steel. She vowed then and there to end the beast's reign herself. They ascended, tearing through hordes of lesser monsters like they were nothing, eventually reaching the volcano's mouth. They scanned the jagged landscape for the demon, but the summit remained eerily silent for a moment. Suddenly, the magma began to boil violently. A massive pillar of fire erupted, reaching toward the darkened sky. From the inferno emerged a nightmare, a 3-headed level 50 steel bear, radiating pure boss energy. Activating steel waves, all 3 maws unleashed a deafening roar. The shockwave forced everyone to cover their ears in pain. The pressure was insane, and to their shock, the monstrous beast actually began to speak. The bear let out a guttural laugh, mocking their death wish. Jinfrey immediately barked a retreat order. Its first move was a hellish fire breath. Freina spotted the embers glowing deep in the central jaw. She ordered everyone to follow Jinfrey's lead and fall back. They scrambled for cover as she looked back. Jinfrey hadn't moved an inch. Freina screamed in panic, but he only met the danger with a smile. The beast unleashed a literal hellfire, swallowing the main character whole. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad scrambled behind their barriers, praying for a miracle. Searing heat lashed at their shields as panic surged through Arthur. He screamed for Jinfrey, his voice lost in the roaring inferno. Thick, suffocating smoke choked the battlefield, masking everything in sight. The steel bear let out a guttural laugh, mocking the one who failed to escape. The temperature skyrocketed until everything turned to ash. As the squad finally emerged from cover, dread filled their hearts. They feared he was gone, but this protagonist isn't so easily deleted. As the haze dissipated, Jinfrey stood his ground, radiating pure legendary energy. The beast's jaw dropped in total shock. That massive feast of phoenix meat wasn't just for show, his fire protection was maxed out. And that's how Jinfree survived the impossible. He threw a cocky smirk at the monster, asking if that was really its best shot. The bear narrowed its eyes, finally realizing this human was built different. Arthur was beyond hyped to see his friend still standing. Freyna stood frozen, recalculating the odds in her head. Only a monstrous level of fire resistance could have tanked that direct hit. This was the main character's big brain play. Eating 50 units of phoenix meat granted him 7 minutes of absolute fire immunity. It didn't make him invincible, but it blunted the lethal edge. Now teetering on the edge of death, he was ready to flip the script. Divine Speed activated. Grabbing his dagger, his stats skyrocketed instantly, making even the bear realize this guy was a serious threat. The beast grinned, finally finding a worthy opponent. Suddenly the entire volcano groaned as the monster unleashed a devastating wide-area skill. Searing waves of air slammed into the party like a physical wall. The system pinged the burn status was now rapidly draining their health bars. Their health plummeted by the second. Take cover behind the rocks, Freyna barked, knowing the heat would melt their armor like butter. Exposed gear meant instant death. They scrambled for safety, while Arthur realized their preparation might not be enough to take down this demon. Survival in the volcanic zone was one thing, but winning was another. Despite the chaos, Jinfree remained as cold as ice. With his resistance buff active, the burn was just a minor annoyance. I came prepared for this heat wave, the main character challenged. The steel bear chuckled, noting the human's defiance. You really think you can withstand the full fury of my flames? He roared. Time for a reality check, the beast yelled, igniting his aura before plunging back into the molten depths of the lava. Here it comes, a squad member shouted as the tension peaked. Jinfree centered his breathing, his eyes locked on the bubbling magma. He braced himself, refusing to blink. In this high-stakes game, the key was tracking the monster's every vibration under the surface. Boom! The beast erupted from the fire, razor-sharp claws narrowly missing Jinfree's face. It was a high-tier special attack. Clang! He parried the strike, sending a massive shockwave toward his allies. Freyna gasped at the monster's insane blinding attack speed. The monster glanced back, intrigued by the human's reflexes. He wondered if this prey could actually turn his own strength against him. The beast was genuinely amused, but quickly grew bored of the games. Let's spice things up, the bear growled, leaping onto solid ground. He wanted to break their spirits. Diving back into the magma, he taunted Jinfree, asking if he could actually repel what was coming. The bear's voice echoed from beneath the earth, sending chills through the squad. Arthur panicked, shouting to know what was happening. Jinfree ignored the noise and shut his eyes, focusing purely on his senses. Suddenly, the ground shattered as the bear lunged from behind. The squad screamed in terror, but Jinfree pirouetted away. His mana detection was on point, leaving the team and the beast absolutely stunned. Even the monster paused in confusion. Jinfree spun around, sizing up the beast and noting its surprisingly fast tactical thinking. Not bad, he teased, but I've already read your entire pattern. The bear roared in fury, telling the human not to get cocky. That was pure luck, the monster barked, vanishing back underground. Luck eventually runs out, and your defense will crumble with it. The bear vowed to stay on the offensive. Stop yapping and just fight. Jinfree countered, shifting into a lethal counterattack stance. Power detection located the target, and divine speed would deliver the blow. He closed his eyes, recalling the thousands of battles he'd mastered. This was a familiar dance. The ground fractured under his feet as Arthur watched with bated breath. The climax was finally here. The bear burst forth, jaws snapping at empty air. Jinfree was gone. He'd already launched himself high into the sky. Descending like a comet, he swung his dagger with overwhelming force. The bear didn't even see the sweeping counterblow coming. The beast froze, dazed by the sheer velocity of the hit. Who said I didn't have time to strike back? Jinfree whispered coldly. Speechless and enraged, the bear could only snarl. Arthur cheered. The main character was absolutely cracked, but the monster wasn't finished. One lucky hit doesn't mean victory, the bear spat. He refused to let a mere human stand in his way to absolute dominance. A new line of dialogue, Jinfree noted the change. As the bear dived back into the lava, he cleared his mind for the final clash. No time for theories. He had to stay sharp. The moment that beast showed its face again, he was going to end this. Bam! A devastating critical hit landed perfectly on target. The bear howled in agony, wondering how the human guessed its every move. Jinfree smirked. His sixth sense was truly broken, but suddenly the poisoning effect took hold and his strength began to fade rapidly. The beast roared in a blind rage as Jinfree mocked its lethal weakness to toxins. He didn't care about playing fair. In this world, exploiting a weakness is just survival. While the squad marveled at his power, Freyna realized most hunters were too terrified to engage. Standing with total confidence, Jinfree dared his enemy to strike before time ran out. The venom was already claiming its prize, triggering a violent volcanic eruption from the monster. He warned the beast not to push its luck as a scorching heat wave blasted the squad. Freyna commanded a full retreat to avoid being incinerated by the intensifying flames. The boy felt useless watching from the sidelines while the monster's fury reached its peak. A massive stream of fire erupted, but Jinfree remained unscathed, leaving the demon visibly shaken. This wasn't like the game anymore. The bear's movements were becoming unpredictable and dangerous. The demon demanded to know how he dodged, but Jinfree just laughed at its late realization. The creature smirked, claiming that knowing his secret wouldn't save him from a triple-threat assault. Horror struck the squad as the steel bear literally split itself into 3 deadly copies. This was a total curveball. The game mechanics had been completely thrown out the window. The clones vanished into the lava, yet their tactical patterns remained eerily familiar to him. Predicting the move was easy, but countering 3 bosses at once was a nightmare scenario. "You're dead first," the demon screamed, bursting from the earth right behind him. He barely sidestepped the lethal blow, sensing his life hanging by a single thread. One more mistake meant certain death as the second beast pounced with murderous intent. The situation was pure chaos, yet the bear thanked him for the entertainment before dying. "Your pathetic friends are next," the beast hissed, as the third clone cornered him. Jinfree was trapped, but Freyna swept in with a clutch save just in time. Her frost explosion spell shattered the air, impaling the demon's massive paw with jagged ice. She taunted the beast for its cowardly 3-on-1 tactics, sending it into a mindless frenzy. As the monster lunged, Jinfree delivered a devastating finishing blow, decapitating the beast instantly. Debt repaid. Now it was time to wipe the remaining monsters off the map. Only 2 targets left. Suddenly his inner sense skill flashed with a golden glow. The first steel bear fell. Arthur cheered wildly as their desperate plan finally paid off. Gasping for air, Jinfree gripped his blade tighter, focusing solely on the final 2 enemies. The beast leaped in a murderous rage, screaming for vengeance for its fallen brother. It vowed to shred him to pieces, its claws glowing with demonic energy. Jinfree parried the heavy strike, while Freyna conjured a protective magical seal behind him. Mid-clash, he suggested she switch to ice magic for a better elemental advantage. She countered that her fire mastery was far superior to her frost abilities. Despite the scorching heat, her specialized buffs kept the status effects from burning her alive. The protection was temporary, so he ordered her to stay put and trust him. Activating divine speed, he blurred across the battlefield, diving straight toward the dungeon boss. He buried his blade deep into its chest as the system triggered his inner sense. Another titan fell. Jinfree stood atop the carcass, his eyes scanning for the final threat. One was still lurking in the shadows, somehow surviving the lethal dose of poison. Staring into the lava crater, he told Freyna to pull back to the safe zone. She refused to move, insisting on showing him the true power of her peak ability. Solar Flame. A massive magical crest ignited above him, rewriting the battle's rules. His attack power tripled instantly, and his fire resistance soared to god-tier levels. Feeling the surge of heat, he watched as the glowing mark on her hand stabilized. Magic was off the table. This was the total limit of her support. Her role in this clash had officially ended. Turning away, she retreated as he flashed a grateful smirk, offering his sincere thanks for her help. A true pyro-pro. Inside the bubbling magma, the steel bear gnashed its teeth in pure, unadulterated fury. "Curse it," he roared, realizing his fatal arrogance. He would recover soon and grind these fools into absolute dust. Suddenly, a chilling voice cut through. "Done napping yet? Let us wrap up this little game of hide-and-seek." The beast's eyes widened at Jinfree. Magma surrounded them. How could a mere human survive this molten hellscape? Jinfree just shrugged, totally unbothered. The monster's mind raced. No way a low-tier human could best a demon. By a human. Flash Jinfree sliced him into ribbons. Above ground, the party huddled by the crater's edge. Eruption, someone shrieked in terror. Freyna stared into the heat, whispering, "No, this cannot be happening." Mid-sentence, Arthur yelled, "Jinfree," and right on cue, our hero emerged from the smoking depths. They swarmed him, frantic for his safety. Jesus barked out, "Is it finished?" while others shouted for status reports. "Fetch a recovery potion now," someone cried. Jinfree just nodded. It was finally over. Arthur stepped forward. "Is the demon dead?" Arthur pressed. "Dead," came the cold reply. Arthur beamed at Freyna, shouting, "Big sis, father would be proud," he mused. Suddenly, glowing system notifications flickered to life before their very eyes. Level 50, Steel Bear slain. Rewards and experience granted. Jinfree grinned. "Now that is what I am talking about. 800,000 gold. He was absolutely vibing with that massive payday. Then the loot list scrolled down. Loot 800,000 gold, 1 S-rank hard bear claw, and 1 A-rank massive bear fang. Bingo, the exact high-tier materials he needed. Freyna approached him softly. "Jinfree," she began tentatively. "How can we repay you?" Arthur chimed in, knowing they would be toast without Jinfree's legendary carry. He was deeply thankful, but Jinfree just waved it off. It was a team effort. Freyna sighed. Honestly, after seeing him work, she felt a bit cringe, taking any credit for the demon's epic downfall. "Don't be," he countered. "That final buff you slapped on me was a literal game-changer." She beamed, wondering if she really was his secret weapon. Then checking her own system window, she spoke up. She insisted on showing gratitude. Among her drops was a B-rank medium homothermal stone. A B-rank rarity, Jinfree's eyes nearly popped. Jackpot, he yelled, pointing at her screen while she blinked. Wait, trade that for the hard claw, he suggested eagerly. Freina's jaw dropped. An exchange? Seriously, that stone is exclusive to this continent, she argued. Jinfree just shrugged to him that rock was worth everything. If you are sure, you can just have it, she offered. Jinfree's face lit up. For real. He snatched up the homothermal stone feeling like a king. Freina just watched him totally bewildered. This guy was a total enigma to her. System Freina's favorability rising, emotional bond established. As she smiled, Jesus watched from the shadows fuming with salt. Are you kidding me right now? System envy detected. Jesus's affection for Freina is peaking. Jinfree winced. Talk about a messy situation. Drama aside, he had the stone. Next stop, the City of Desires on the second continent. Touching down in the heart of the second continent, Jinfree surveyed the bustling streets. Finally made it. The central city, the true starting line of his legend. Freina stood before him, looking determined. We are finally home, she whispered, the shadow of their father's past still hanging over them. She hoped their paths would cross again soon. Arthur stepped up, vowing to out-train Jinfree next time. Thanks for everything, man, Arthur said sincerely. Jinfree gave a cool nod before they parted ways. Walking away, Jinfree marveled at how smoothly he had snagged that homothermal stone. Too easy. With the key to the first continent in hand, flashes of his past life began to Life was finally clicking into place. He wired funds to his family before heading toward his next objective. He reached the gateway connecting the continents. In the crowd, the whispers started instantly. No way he beat the demon. Look at that gear. It's basically trash tier equipment. Exactly. At that moment, our hero checked his glowing system interface. The notification confirmed the first demon's fall. Destination locked the second continent. He stepped into the light and vanished. Bystanders rubbed their eyes, convinced they were hallucinating. Welcome to the second continent. The prison of desires. A fresh start. He reached into his pocket with a smirk. He'd arrived. Suddenly, a blue window popped up. A priority message from Amelia. He blinked, confused. How was she calling? Then her face flickered onto the screen. Hello, big brother. He jumped. Amelia, what is it? Is everything okay? She sounded terrified. That massive bank transfer had her shaking. Where did all that cash come from? She feared he'd turned to crime. Relax, he lied. He knew the truth was worse. He kept his dangerous life as an adventurer hidden. He couldn't let his family worry. Hey, are you even listening? Amelia screamed. He sighed. I'm here. It's all legit work. She prayed he was right, because back home their mother's condition was taking a dark turn. He collapsed onto a bench, his mind racing. Medical bills were about to skyrocket. No more waiting. Mom. He snapped out of it when he overheard a group discussing an auction. Any rare loot, one asked. Maybe a high elf tier. The name hit him like lightning. He scanned the system description. A legendary cure-all. The ultimate ingredient for any medicine. It was a myth on this continent, but if he secured it, his mother would finally be saved. In a city of elites, that tear would cost a fortune. Millions of gold he didn't have yet. He needed a massive war chest fast. Time to grind in the deadliest zones. He traveled to the Atoni snow plain, a rank E frozen hellscape. He stepped into the biting cold. High-level dungeons meant high-level paydays. He was exactly where he needed to be. He spotted a level 62 feline mob. A grin spread across his face. Found you. He offered the items he'd scavenged earlier. The cat's eyes widened, its tail twitching with excitement. He knelt down, presenting a snow vine, a crimson flower, and a frozen fish like an offering. This is all for you, buddy, he whispered, pointing to the vibrant red blossom. It'll make the perfect bed. The cat let out a happy trill and dropped a shimmering coin. System alert, kitten's gold coin obtained. Rarity mythic. Effect double. All gold earnings. The cat held it out proudly. He reached out, stunned. Is this actually for me? He was floored. The kitten's gold coin was finally in his hands. A secret item. By befriending the cat, his farming speed just hit the stratosphere. The grind began. Notifications flooded his screen. 80,000. Then 152,000 gold. He tore through the mobs and eventually faced the dungeon boss. It didn't stand a chance. Rewards 1,111,000 gold. Twice, he'd finally hit the jackpot. Total gold collected 12,664,000. The grind was officially over. He looked at the balance. This was enough to fund a literal army. But why stop there? Back in the city, he headed straight for a hidden back room. A high-stakes casino. A pit of greed where desperate souls came to lose everything. Honor doesn't exist here. Only the ruthless survive. Then he spotted a man screaming in victory. I won, again the guy roared, downing a drink. My luck has finally turned around. The system chimed. This guy Entei had just swindled over 10 million gold through cheating. He narrowed his eyes. This arrogant cheater was the perfect target to fleece for everything. Entei turned, catching his stare. You want a piece of this? Who's this clown? Victory is mine. I won't lose sleep over his ego. I'm the boss here. Our hero chuckled, closing the distance with a smirk. Take it easy on me, all right. So what if I'm the new guy, scanning the rules? He absorbed every detail instantly. The dealer sneered internally. Perfect, another clueless whale just walked into my trap. Auntie flashed a predatory grin. No sweat, kid. It's just a simple game of roulette. Lay your bets down. With 10 million gold already banked, the system suddenly pinged a warning that the dealer was prepping a dirty trick. Predictable, he thought, suppressing a laugh. This joint was pure comedy. Roulette, the undisputed queen of the casino floor. 2 spins, 2 numbers, 1 fate. Land 1 match, and you walk away with half of the massive pot. Land both, your stack doubles. Miss everything, and the board resets for another round of high-stakes tension. Duplicate bets were forbidden. Auntie slammed his palm onto the felt. Enough talk. Let's see your opening move. Our MC locked eyes with him. Red 36 and black 8. 10 million gold on the line. Auntie froze in shock. Wait, what? The dealer's brain short-circuited. Did this madman seriously just drop 10 million gold on a single go? Leaning on his elbows, the MC teased. Did I stutter? Red 36, black 8. Need me to repeat it again. 10 million. Period. The ball began its dance. If the dealer didn't call it now, house rules would apply. Call the bet after the stop and it's an instant forfeit. Hurry up and name it, the MC pressured. As if he even can, the MC smirked. The worker panicked. How is this possible? Is this some sick joke? Those were the exact rigged numbers. The hero's smile widened. Something wrong. You look like you've seen a ghost. The ball slowed, nearing its final slot. Auntie hissed at the dealer. Move it. What the hell are you waiting for? He needed that call now. Irritation bubbled beneath his skin. Little did they know the MC was 10 steps ahead. Thanks to his divine halo skill, he was reading their thoughts before a single word even left their lips. The dealer was playing hunter using sniper eye, a professional skill designed to lock onto any target with lethal precision. It was a guaranteed win. But as the ball finally settled, the surrounding crowd gasped in collective disbelief. Red 36, black 8. A perfect match. Leaning back, arms crossed, the MC quipped, "Guess I'm just lucky today." He knew their secret. The dealer was signaling the winning numbers to a plant, using subtle hand gestures. But he'd hijacked their own scam. Auntie roared in fury. No way. How the hell did that just happen? This is impossible. The worker spun around, trembling as he faced his superior. I'm so sorry, manager. A towering figure stepped forward. Report. The worker pointed a shaking finger at the MC. He's a dirty cheater. He's rigging it. Nobody hits a 10 million gold double match on luck alone. He's definitely cheating somehow. Oliver clasped his hands, a chillingly calm smile on his face. Now, miracles do happen in this house. Let's discuss this in my office. The MC felt the air grow heavy. The vibe had shifted instantly. The manager was clearly the mastermind. He signaled his goons, "Seize him. Make him tell us everything." Before they could move, the MC flipped the massive table. A worker lunged from the shadows, screaming threats. "Don't you dare resist," the goon barked. Snap. A quick strike to the neck silenced him. Who's next? The dealer leveled a bow while Auntie brandished a blade. You're a dead man, fraud. But our hero moved. Spun like a whirlwind, he delivered a crushing kick. The only fraud here is you, he growled. Anyone else want a piece? Oliver's brow furrowed. Damn it, this kid is way stronger than he looks. Manager. Look at his face. An underling stuttered. What about him? Oliver turned, scanning the MC's features again. He spread his arms in terror. The description matches. He's that rookie from the viral news reports. The record breaker who cleared the initiation ceremony. Level 33, Oliver's heart skipped a beat in fear. Is it really him? He's already on the second continent. He's the slayer who pulverized the steel bear. Why is he here? Panic set in. Oliver hit the floor, bowing frantically. Forgive my insolence, sir. The MC chuckled darkly. Even if they knew him, they couldn't win. This was the end of their road. Only total ruin awaited them. Flashing a villainous grin, he watched the manager beg for his life. We'll do anything to make it right, the manager pleaded. The MC leaned in, voice dropping low. Simple. I'm taking every single cent in this vault. Oliver's eyes bulged. Wait, all of the money. Flicking open his system window, the MC added, and that VIP auction invite, that's mine too, Oliver gasped. Think of this as a tax for branding him a fraud. Fair trade right, that's his price. Rising, he turned away with a chilling warning. Reject this, and the Public Security Association gets involved. They will swarm you. Nobody wants that drama, right? Terrified Oliver screamed in total realization. He drained his accounts instantly. Later, at the legendary Second Life auction house. Checking his system, he confirmed the funds. With luck, the High Elf tier would be his today. Taking his seat, he thanked that invitation for his VIP access to this exclusive underworld event. He was locked in on his prize. Meanwhile, a broken Oliver collapsed to his knees, spiraling. Damn, he got absolutely fleeced. Suddenly, he spotted someone and gasped, "Head of department." The auctioneer signaled for silence, apologizing for the delay. The bidding war was finally ready to ignite. Today's catalog featured legendary rarities. 11 mystical artifacts gleamed behind the reinforced glass, taunting the crowd. First up, a colossal blade, a Tier 1 rarity that every collector would kill to own. Gesturing to the steel, he announced a starting bid of 2 million gold. Our hero calculated. To save his mother, 3 ingredients were vital: the high elf tear from a hidden dungeon, the ice Tokimera fang, and ancient red earth. If he could just secure them here, it would save him from a brutal grind and finally bring him some much-needed peace. His eyes widened. Pure dragon's sake, that single item could be the ultimate game-changer for him. The host shouted, "Next up, the ice Tokimera fang, a lethal drop from a rare, S-rank beast, starting at 50,000 gold." Immediately, our hero threw down his first bid. "We have 100,000 accepted." The price just doubled in the blink of an eye. He spun around, stunned. 100 grand for this? Who is this clown trying to outflex him? Oliver raised his hand. That loser, Oliver smirked, relishing his role as the main character's nightmare. He would not let this slide quietly. Our hero wondered if Oliver had cashed out his entire fortune. The high elf tier was the grand finale, and it was the only thing his budget allowed. He had to stay disciplined. Sold. The fang goes to the powerhouse known as Blue Snake Guild. 1 million gold. The crowd erupted into whispers. The giants of the Blue Snake Guild were here. The Blue Snake Guild, the richest, most terrifying force on the continent, had officially entered the fray. Crossing them was suicide. Bidding against their infinite gold was a fool's errand. He got the message. They are legendary for their bottomless pockets. Then, the high-ranking Simon Bloodberry leaned in with a question. "That guy?" Oliver nodded. "He is just a casino manager, an absolute moron I am about to destroy. He only got in using my pass. We cannot let this bottom feeder get even a single win. Shut him down. No mercy." "Oh really? He is actually going to challenge a guild this powerful. They rule this city from the shadows. Time for a painful lesson." Next up, lot number 7. Ancient Red Earth. An S-rank treasure found only in the depths of the third great continent. Starting at 7 million, our hero bid, but then 50 million. The Blue Snake Guild is insane. Blue Snake again, Oliver's bid just quadrupled the price, leaving the entire room in absolute shock. He understood their game. This was pure, unadulterated financial dominance in action. He underestimated their massive wealth. Once again, the Blue Snake Guild swept the item effortlessly away. They secured the ancient red earth with a record-breaking 4 times over bid. Then the tension shifted. Oliver threw back his head and laughed. Suddenly, the system flagged a pathetic soul nearby. Someone was sabotaging every bid. Scoring that high elf tier was looking like an impossible mission. Against a top-tier guild, winning felt hopeless. But then a crazy alternative plan sparked in his mind. He bid again. Blue Snake Guild wins Mermaid Scale, sold for 40 million gold, total domination. They snatched the bloody assassin knife for 20 million, then effortlessly grabbed the pure dragon's sake too. For 300 million. He gritted his teeth. This was not an auction. It was a massacre. Was even his angelic halo useless here? That is when Oliver pointed and let out a mocking laugh. "What a clown," he sneered. "A lone wolf trying to outmaneuver a powerhouse guild with pocket change. He's delusional." The main character just let out a cold laugh. "Look in the mirror," he countered. "You're the only idiot in this room." The auctioneer flung his arms wide, his voice booming. "Behold our grand finale, a treasure legendary for its ethereal radiance. The pinnacle of beauty itself. A masterpiece that has left collectors breathless across the entire realm. Presenting item 11, the High Elf Tears, will open the floor at 50 million gold. 500 million, the MC shouted, dropping a nuclear bid. The crowd gasped. Starting that high was pure insanity. Is he crazy? That's a fortune. The MC crossed his arms, eyes locked on the prize. If this was his target, he wasn't backing down. Let them try and block him. It was time to see who really ran this floor. Oliver gritted his teeth, visibly annoyed. Doesn't matter. I'll just double his bid and crush him anyway. He slammed down a bid. 1 billion, the host cried. The Blue Snake Guild hits 1 billion. Wait, we have a problem. The Blue Snake Guild is barred from further bidding. Oliver froze in shock while a smug grin played on the MC's lips. Karma's a beast, he thought. The host turned to Oliver with a stiff apology, looking nervous as hell. Sir, your guild has reached the maximum bid cap. Oliver erupted, his face turning red. Maximum cap? What trash are you spewing? Explain yourself. The host raised a hand. Per our regulations, no participant may place more than 5 winning bids. The Blue Snakes have already claimed 5 treasures. To ensure fairness and prevent a monopoly, your privilege is revoked. Oliver's knuckles turned white. What kind of garbage rule is that? I've been a regular here for years. Yet, this was news to him. The MC realized Oliver was clueless because this wasn't your typical storefront. It was an elite event. A rare gathering hosted by the adventurer elite. It was like a hidden quest most players totally missed. And that rule, It was absolute designed to keep the rarest artifacts from falling into a single set of greedy hands. Clearly this clown was playing in a league he didn't understand. The MC scoffed, total amateur hour. Is that clear? The host asked. Oliver began a frantic rant, but the host silenced him with a sharp gesture. Time's up. All eyes turned to the guy with the glowing halo. He just snagged the high elf tiers for a cool 500 million. As applause filled the hall, the MC crossed his arms, cringing slightly. Don't call me that, he muttered. Fuming, Oliver roared. They set me up. This brat really thinks he can look down on me. The club incident was a fluke, but now he's dead meat. He's not leaving this room alive. He leveled a finger at the MC deadly mana swirling around his hand. A nearby guest shrieked in terror. He's lost it. The MC stood up, fists tight. What a moron, he thought. You really want to throw down here. Let's take this outside. No need to catch bystanders in the crossfire. If you want a beating, let's do it in the street. You hear me. Drop the spell, old man. The crowd watched, stunned. This was reaching a breaking point. One wrong move and things would turn lethal. Oliver spat out another insult, but Simon stepped forward. Stand down, Simon ordered. Oliver balked, but Sir Simon warned that picking a fight now would draw way too much heat from the community. Our honor will be trashed if we run, Oliver barked. Simon's gaze turned cold as ice. I won't say it again. We're moving out. Now. He turned toward the exit without another word. Oliver slumped his shoulders. Yes, sir, he muttered, tail between his legs. Later, the MC checked his status window in the corridor. That was a chaotic mess, but mission accomplished. He'd secured the high elf tiers. With the other ingredients already banked, he was close to crafting the panacea. Just one dungeon run left. But he couldn't stop thinking about that. Pure dragon's sake, those goons snatched. Losing that was a massive blow. It's a legendary drop tied to a grueling 5th floor quest. With it, he could have unlocked his secret gear instantly. He let out a heavy sigh, frustration bubbling up. Those blue snake punks ruined everything. Suddenly Mira appeared. That halo. I've never seen anything like it. She stared, fascinated by the glow. The MC straightened up, eyeing her suspiciously. And who is this now? Sorry for the intrusion, she said smoothly. But what's your beef with the Blue Snake Guild? Are you close with their leader? He blinked. Leader, she pointed back. That long-haired man from before. That was Simon, the king of the 2nd floor. The MC just waved a hand dismissively. Never met the guy. It's just business. Now care to tell me who you are? She reveals her identity as a rogue adventurer, her eyes locked onto her true target, the Blue Snake Guild. Suddenly, a system notification pings. Mira is actually conducting a high-stakes investigation authorized by the community. Our hero freezes. A community request. That means she is a titan from the legendary League of 8. That exclusive circle features 8 S-rank powerhouses, handpicked by the community to handle the impossible. These elites crush high-tier quests for massive rewards, basically living the dream with fame and endless fortune. Skills, clout, wealth, they have it all. He has not heard that prestigious name in a long time. Years ago, he cleared a dungeon and reached their level just for kicks. Looks like they bolted, he notes. Should they tail them? She agrees to move out, but stops to drop one burning question first. Where did you snag that halo? She demands, hands on hips, catching him completely off guard. Does she recognize his secret gear? This illegal equipment is strictly blacklisted by the community's authorities. Getting caught means massive trouble. He desperately needs to flip the script and deflect her curiosity immediately. He rubs his neck, playing it off as nothing, just as a system alert flashes enthusiast equipment. Mira is totally locked onto his unique gear internally, fangirling over how adorable that halo looks. She low-key wants one for herself. Feeling her intense gaze, he asks, what is something wrong? He gestures vaguely, claiming the backstory is way too long to explain right now. She keeps staring. Closing her eyes, she waves him off, promising to uncover the truth herself, before turning to vanish. As she disappears downstairs, he is reeling. How does the League of 8 even know about enthusiast tier gear? Beyond the rare equipment, her vibes scream pro. She is clearly a veteran, even by elite standards. Mira glances back, thinking she has never witnessed such rare artifacts even on the 7th floor. Floor 7 had nothing like this. Who is this guy? Fast forward to the 2nd floor. Inside the A-rank Moonlight Wasteland, our hero stands over the smoking remains of a fallen dungeon boss. The level 80 giant goblin is toast. Score, he cheers as a goblin thief. Glove drops as loot. A holographic window pops up. Rank A goblin thief glove. Time to check out these broken stats. It allows him to snatch any item from a stunned enemy's inventory. Talk about a legendary upgrade. His eyes are on that S-rank Ice Tokamera Fang, but first one final hidden piece remains. Time to make them talk, he whispers, spotting Oliver and the Blue Snake Guildmaster ahead. He needs that pure dragon's sake to unlock new treasures. Spell detection led him straight to their location. He stalks them from the shadows, waiting for a slip-up. He spots Mira nearby. She is hunting too. She is definitely on their trail. Peeking out, Mira realizes she is not the only predator in these woods. Is he tailing them too, she wonders. Suddenly the targets seemingly vanish right through a solid wall. Moments later, inside a hidden biotope, Simon hovers over a glowing, mysterious flower. Oliver beams arms wide. So master, was the harvest as bountiful as we hoped? If this does not fix the boss's mood, Oliver is toast. With this haul, prices will skyrocket. Seriously, we can finally make back our lost gold, Oliver exclaims with greedy excitement. Get the crew, harvest everything. Suddenly, a voice cuts in. Gardening as a side hustle, huh? Holding a bloom, our hero smiles calmly as they spin around, shrieking, "How did you find us?" Oliver seethes, fists trembling in rage. You followed us. Our protagonist just gestures toward the flowers. Moonlight, azaleas, prime magic enhancers. He warns them not to play dumb about their illegal crop. This stuff triggers lethal hallucinations. One wrong dose and it is literally game over for the user. The community banned this years ago. So what is the endgame here? A heavy silence falls. Simon narrows his eyes. Are you a community narc? Our hero simply shakes his head. Nah, just hand over the pure dragon sake from the auction and I will forget I ever saw this. He crosses his arms, waiting. Instead of negotiating, Oliver starts channeling deadly energy into his palms. You arrogant brat, Oliver roars. In a blur, our hero vanishes, reappearing right behind him. Mira watches the tension explode, wondering what they are arguing about. Our protagonist just smirks. Gripping Oliver's shoulder, Jin Woo claims he's here for a deal, not a bloodbath. He offers top dollar for the pure dragon sake, but Oliver refuses to budge. With a cold gaze, he warns that the adventurer world will soon learn the garden's secrets. Driven to the edge, Oliver draws his blade, lunging in a desperate, frantic rage. Don't sleep on me, he screams, but our MC slips past like a literal ghost. Self-defense, Jin Woo mutters, delivering a lethal throat strike. Mira is floored, a total one-shot. That dagger is unlike anything she's seen. Suddenly, Simon appears, mocking the brat, invading his turf. Dead men don't talk, Simon sneers, unsheathing his weapon with absolute murderous intent. System alert Simon. Level 97. Master of the Blue Snake Guild. A powerhouse swordsman. Jin Woo just smirks. Let's wrap this up. Mira watches, captivated by the looming showdown. The atmosphere grows heavy as Simon lunges his blade, whistling through the air. Steel clashes violently. Jin Woo immediately feels the massive gap in their power levels. They trade blows in a blur. Mira recalls the legendary records this rookie recently shattered. Jin Woo's combat IQ is god tier, but Simon's raw strength is simply on another level. Sparks fly as their high-speed duel intensifies across the dark, narrow battlefield. Skidding back, Jin Woo resets. Simon laughs, "Know your place, rookie. You're completely outclassed." Ready for a hero's death, Simon mocks. But Jin Woo isn't looking for a grave. He's here to win, pure and simple. Giving up isn't even an option anymore. Talk is for losers, Simon bellows, charging forward with a devastating heavy swing. Jin Woo blocks, but a chill runs down Simon's spine. Something feels dangerously wrong. Forced to get serious, Simon prepares a special skill, his frustration reaching a breaking point. Mira gasps in shock. Jin Woo has closed his eyes mid-fight. Is he insane? He's parrying by pure instinct. Mira wonders if it's magic sensing or god-tier equipment. Another perfect deflection. Jin Woo whispers, "Success." The trap is finally set. Ding, Lucifer's Halo third skill unlocked. The tide of battle shifts in an instant. A divine radiance erupts above Jin Woo's head, blinding everyone in the room. To unlock this, he had to max out his hidden spell detection stat to 252. It required landing perfect parries against elite foes, a literal do-or-die combat grind. Stronger enemies mean faster stat gains, and Jin Woo was playing the long game. Between the Demon Lord and this fight, the requirements have finally been fulfilled. A skill that normally takes years was mastered in minutes. Absolute main character energy. Thanks for the carry, Jin Woo thinks, looking at his confused and trembling opponent. Suddenly, Simon's blade pierces Jin Woo's chest. "Too slow, you pathetic pup," he gloats. Simon thinks it's over, believing he's taught the rookie one final lethal lesson. But then a voice chills his blood. Who's better again? Jin Woo is standing right behind him. Simon freezes. He just felt his sword sink in. How is the kid completely unharmed? "You look like you've seen a ghost," Jin Woo taunts. Simon's reality begins to shatter. Mira senses the shift. Simon looks at his hands as his very existence seems to evaporate. A wound suddenly opens in Simon's chest. He never even saw the MC move. Panic sets in. Simon's mind spirals as he realizes he's trapped in a waking nightmare. He reaches out, gasping. Mira watches in horror as Simon collapses in visible agony. It's the ultimate trump card. Jin Woo reveals the secret Lucifer's Halo third form. Welcome to a fantastic illusion, the skill that turns your own mind into a prison. The world is big, right? Jin Woo mocks. The system confirms the lethal activation. One look is all it takes to trigger a 72-hour mental hellscape. Game over. He smirked, admitting he'd already clocked her. Turning to Mira, he teased, "Did you enjoy following him?" She froze. He had known all along. But she was not tailing him, she was tracking the whole group. "Oh right, your community mission," he mocked. "Since you are here, why not just bust these losers?" For illegally growing moonlight azalea. He waved dismissively, leaving the messy cleanup entirely to her. She watched him go until he suddenly punched his palm. Wait, I almost forgot the most important part. He summoned a glowing system window, rank A Goblin Thief gloves. With a grin, he equipped them. The system pinged. These gloves allow him to snatch any item directly from an enemy's hidden inventory. One stun, one steal. He reached toward Oliver's corpse laughing. "Sorry buddy, but finders keepers." He pulled out the S-rank Pure Dragon sock. Jackpot, he thought. This was the ultimate game changer. The second Demon Lord would not stand a chance now. "Mom, just hold on a little longer." Mira stepped closer, her gaze burning into him. He caught her eye and casually asked, "Is there a problem?" "This is totally legal." She sighed, eyes closed. "Sure, I am positive it is legal." "Well then, see you later." He tossed the words over his shoulder and headed for the exit. Watching him leave, she realized no high-tier gear appeared during that clash. You cannot read this boy. A hidden class skill. Or was it that strange thing hovering above him? This kid is a complete enigma. If he had used forbidden items, she would have intervened. But he stayed within the rules barely. Jinfrey was no rookie. His gear was unlike anything she had seen. Later on the second floor, he stood before the Second Life tavern shop. "All right," he muttered, "this is finally the place." Checking his loot, he realized the Pure Dragon Sake was the key to unlocking another secret artifact. Suddenly the door flew open as a man stormed out, screaming, "Do they think we are pushovers?" A little flattery does not work on that stubborn fossil legendary blacksmith, more like legendary jerk. They stomped off. The MC knew the blacksmith would not acknowledge anyone without a proper tribute. He needed a bribe. Stepping inside with a confident grin, he called out a simple, "Hello." He reflexively blocked a flying hammer and screwdriver with his loot. The blacksmith growled, "Just wonderful. Another idiot. Do not distract me while I am working. Now get out of my sight." "I am not forging a damn thing," Taver barked. The MC chuckled. The old man had not changed. Leaning against the doorframe, he pleaded for just a minute of his time, hands raised in peace. Taver roared for him to shut up and leave, but then the MC revealed his secret item. "I brought premium sake," he teased. Taver froze in shock. "How did a ragamuffin like you get Pure Dragon Sake? Hand it over and scram," Taver barked, delivering a sharp kick to his leg. "Ouch! Wait up!" the MC yelled, lifting the bottle. Taver reached for it, screaming for him to stop. "Give it here." The MC remembered the game mechanics. Usually you just hand the sake over. The drunk blacksmith would then forge S-rank gear. But he had a much better plan. He summoned a rank B shining stone, a rare drop from Phryna after crushing the Demon Lord. Taver's jaw dropped. Soon they were at the table, the MC pouring him a very generous glass. Taver sobbed, remembering how his late wife adored sake warmed by a shining stone's golden glow. "I know," the MC nodded, having heard the tragic backstory countless times. He poured another round. This would trigger the hidden event. Obtaining S-rank gear with just sake was a great result, but mixing the sake and stone unlocked a secret artifact no one else in the game knew. Taver wiped his eyes, howling, "I was such a fool. If only I had realized sooner." He wailed about his regrets until dawn broke. The MC sat patiently through the entire night. In the morning light, Taver grinned. "This is for the delicious wine, kid. A fair trade." He handed over the gear. Jinfrey smirked, offering a quick thanks to the legendary smith. The legend's reputation was well earned. Finally, his third secret equipment was ready for battle. System alert armor Scanda boots. Rank unknown. Stat boost plus 20 dexterity. Durability 5000 out of 5000. Passive skill 1, free movement. The world is his playground. Active skill 2, lightning speed. He can blink anywhere within a 100-meter radius instantly. Limited to 5 daily charges. Skill 3 remains a mystery, waiting for the right conditions. Our hero smirked with confidence. Time to move out. He would wrap this up in record time. Destination, the S-rank dungeon in Grace Castle. Suddenly, Tavor tossed a mysterious flask his way. "Take this gift," he barked. The system identified legendary rank, a non-alcoholic heated sake. This legendary blacksmith's brew grants a permanent, very warm status upon the first sip. He questioned the danger ahead. Our protagonist thanked him and stepped toward the S-rank nightmare. As he departed, Tavor muttered that strength alone wasn't enough. Caution was survival here. The Ice Demon Lord is lethally deceptive. Soon they breached Grace Castle's second-floor S-rank zone. Other players hurried past. Shivering violently, our main character groaned about the biting cold. He felt turned to stone. Time to pop open that special brew Tavor provided earlier. He downed the flask in one go. A satisfied sigh escaped his lips as warmth flooded his body. System update: Jinfrey is now very warm. This buff will persist for 100 minutes straight. Thin gear, no problem. Behind him, the peanut gallery started throwing shade and whispering. "Look at that guy," they scoffed. "He is a dead man walking in those summer clothes." Between the weird halo and lack of gear, he is clearly some clueless newbie without winter supplies. Guess he was too broke for elixirs. The system relayed their judgmental thoughts directly to him. He bristled at their insults. The countdown hit 1 hour 59 minutes and 45 seconds. No time for haters. He focused on the S-rank objective, knowing every second counted. This dungeon has a 2-hour limit. Fail and you are forcefully booted back to town. Worse yet, the penalty strips half your gold and gear. He had tasted defeat before. He couldn't afford another loss. Stepping forward, he prepared himself for the incoming chaos. Pure mana saturated the air near the demon castle. Others had already beaten him to the scene. Priority 1, grab the ice Tokamara Fang for the medicine. Nearby adventurers were already struggling. Every step is a battle, one complained. We will run out of time before we even arrive. Suddenly, a massive threat emerged. A level 82 canicular beast blocked their path. The warrior panicked, swinging his blade. We are cooked. We will never reach the castle doors. He screamed at his partner to cast defensive spells, but his friend was distracted. He was staring at our protagonist, who was casually strolling through the air like a boss. Hands in pockets, he savored the moment. Passive skill 1 free movement was truly a cheat. A loud roar interrupted his peace. 2 level 82 monsters lunged straight for his throat. Sorry guys, I am on a schedule, he muttered. In a flash, he carved them into ribbons. Monster pieces rained down. Below, the adventurers gaped. Is that the same guy in the pajamas? He is flying, is he a ghost hunting fools? They dropped and began to pray. May his soul find peace, they whispered. Even a nearby monster joined the prayer circle. One more word and I am breaking this window, he joked. Finally, Ormond's castle appeared. He glided toward the fortress. 5 minutes flat. Not a bad commute for an S-rank. Wait, what? He blinked in disbelief. Mira was already standing right at the main entrance. What is a heavy hitter from the League of Eight doing here? She is definitely hunting loot. If their paths crossed again, he wouldn't be so lenient. But her presence here was suspicious. A pro like her should have cleared this place weeks ago. She touched the door's ancient seals. She sensed an intruder inside. Someone was bold enough to challenge the Demon Lord's home. Most can't last 2 hours here, yet this mysterious player seemed to be thriving inside. Suddenly, our hero watched in awe as she completely obliterated the massive front gate. Pure insanity. The system just confirmed she's breached the Demon Lord's forbidden fortress. Shadowing her every move, our hero marveled at the sheer power of the Eight. Absolutely legendary. The door's security was totally fried. Normally, sieging this place takes forever, but he'd hit the jackpot. Spinning around, he spotted more trash mobs. Not you guys again. He instantly triggered skill, 2 lightning speed. This cheat code allows 100-meter blinks, but it's capped at 5 uses per day. In a flash, he vanished, leaving the confused monsters to crash into each other while he reached the gate. System alert player has officially entered the 9th floor of the Demon Lord's main citadel. Right outside the frozen chamber, he smirked, thrilled that his skill dropped him exactly where he needed to be. To reach the final floor, he had to crush the mini-boss ahead. Time to finally test drive those sandal boots. Why not go for a world record speedrun? Meanwhile, deep within Demon Lord Ormid's castle annex. On the 7th floor, agonizing screams filled the icy air as terrified prisoners begged for mercy. Master, why? One sobbed. How could you betray us after everything we faced together? System Garuda Gaston. Time limit 1 hour 26 minutes. He leveled his blade at the trembling man. These losers were slowing him down. Garuda, the Blue Snake's guildmaster, lashed out. Who gave you permission to stall me? With one brutal strike, his timer jumped to 2 hours and 42 minutes. Blood was his currency. He snarled in rage. Who was going to compensate him for the massive loot he'd missed thanks to their incompetence? Cowering against the wall, the victim begged for forgiveness. But Garuda wasn't finished talking yet. Existing without value is a crime, he spat. The weak must perish to serve the strong. Another life snuffed out. Garuda's clock ticked up to 4 hours and 21 minutes. Pure, cold-blooded efficiency. Next, he aimed his steel at another terrified adventurer, who desperately pleaded for his life. Please, master, I don't want to die. The plea fell on deaf ears. Strike clock. Updated 8 hours. 7 minutes and 13 seconds. He grinned, mocking how their pathetic lives only bought him a few hours. Is that all for today? I need more, his lackey stammered, promising he was drafting victims as fast as possible. They're on their way, sir. Suddenly, Garuda turned the blade toward his own subordinate. Care to take their place? The man shrieked, swearing he'd find fresh meat immediately to save his own skin. As he bolted, a dark realization hit. Harvesting other players was the only way to extend his stay. How long would this nightmare last? How many more would die? Meanwhile, Garuda was busy plotting his next move. Ever since that woman from the Eight captured Simon, the entire community had the guild in their crosshairs. The elites wanted them erased, but let them come. Even if they tracked him down, he wasn't going easily. His massive time advantage made Grey Castle the perfect fortress. Meanwhile, back at the Demon Lord's main tower, on the 9th floor, our hero pulled off a mid-air flip, narrowly dodging a lethal strike before counter-slashing. Soaring upward, he realized aerial combat was a total blast. This new gear was cracked, but something felt off. That weird mana signature from earlier, it was definitely emanating from the second Demon Lord's penthouse suite. Yet that sinister presence back in the annex was far more terrifying. It was eating at him. Forget the annex, the Demon Lord comes first. He lunged forward with a devastating strike and scanned the room. Finally, the last mob. With the room clear, he headed for the boss. Elsewhere, Mira cautiously cracked a door. Clinging to the ceiling, he watched her closely. There it was again, a massive surge of raw magical energy. Her power actually eclipsed the Demon Lord's. She nearly spotted him. How the heck is she that quick? Where are all the enemies? She wondered. Suddenly, 2 level 92 snow golems materialized right behind her. Mini-bosses. Out of nowhere, without breaking a sweat, she chanted her spell, Summon Sylph. A majestic wind spirit emerged. Our hero's jaw dropped. Wait, is that a high-tier spirit? Only elite mages could pull that off. Mira extended her palm, channeling a terrifying amount of mana. I'm on a tight schedule, boys, she teased, unleashing a blinding torrent of destruction upon the golems. With a snap of her fingers, a lethal electric surge finished them off. Our hero was speechless. She erased 2 mini-bosses in a single hit. This girl wasn't just strong, she was on a whole other level. She approached the massive gates as our hero realized these were the legendary stairs that only materialize after a boss falls. This path leads straight to the Demon Lord's throne. Mira pressed on her eyes, scanning every shadow for hidden secrets. Next, stop the annex. Our main character followed her gaze, sensing she was desperately hunting for someone specific. Talk about a lucky break, she isn't looking for a death match with the Demon Lord. Suddenly she whipped around. Did someone see her? She brushed off the eerie sensation as a mere hallucination. There is no time for paranoia when the mission is on the line. Meanwhile, our protagonist stood before the towering gates of Demon Lord Ormud's fortress, right at the heart of the 10th floor. In the chilling silence outside the Lord's sanctuary, he reached for the handle and stepped into the belly of the beast. The room was a graveyard of adventurers pinned to ice. He smirked at Ormud on his throne, casually noting it had been a while. This was the second Demon Lord Ormud. The system pinged a terrifying warning. He was a massive level 100 monster. His aura, Death's Peak, was suffocating instantly, slashing every adventurer's stats by 20% within the chamber. Ormud let out a sinister chuckle. What kind of pathetic beast dares to stumble into my domain today, he spat. You're just another corpse in the making, the Lord sneered. Scanning the room, the protagonist realized there was no magic left here. They were all cold, empty shells. But then a dying boy gasped out a final desperate warning. You have to run. In a flash, deadly ice shards tore through the air. The protagonist didn't flinch. This opening move was straight out of the game. But he knew better than to be reckless. Just like Helbrus, this Demon Lord might have some new lethal tricks up his sleeve. These humans are utter trash, Ormud laughed, his voice echoing, but at least they are delicious. He flared his dark energy, a wicked grin spreading across his face. You are the 10th snack to walk through those doors today. It's been ages since I've had such a feast, he hissed, his tongue flicking out in lethal anticipation. The survivor hanging from the ice felt his soul tremble. Against such overwhelming pressure, what hope did they ever have? Stupid useless ants, the Lord cackled, reaching out toward the protagonist. Now it's your turn to be served as dinner. The protagonist vanished. He blurred past the Lord as the system flared. Scandaboot's skill 2, lightning speed, 3 charges left. A deep gash ripped across the Demon Lord's face. The survivor's eyes widened. How did a human move that fast? The main character just nonchalantly scratched his ear. Man, you're loud. And honestly, that didn't even tickle. Ormud's laughter turned jagged as he used frozen mana to seal his wound. You are a clever little animal, I'll give you that. Consider this a light warm-up before I devour you, he roared, as a storm of ice shards rained down from the ceiling. Looking at the massive mound of ice burying the center of the room, Ormud smirked. Looks like you were too slow, but he was dead wrong. In a heartbeat, the protagonist appeared behind him, his blade burying itself deep into the Lord's chest. Boom, Centipede skill 1, keen gaze. Triple damage on a weak point. The mighty demon collapsed to his knees in shock. What is this? Ormud gasped. He hadn't even seen the movement. This wasn't just natural speed, it was something far more unnatural. The protagonist just sighed. With 3 pieces of secret gear equipped, Ormud was basically a mid-tier mob to him. He needed to wrap this up, but he had to balance the damage. If he killed him too fast, the Ice Tokomara wouldn't spawn. He lunged again, but Ormud had a dirty trick. He yanked the body of a fallen adventurer into the line of fire. Can't strike me now, can you? The Lord mocked, hiding behind the corpse. Even if he is just a slab of meat now. You absolute moron, the main character muttered, his eyes cold. He wasn't falling for such a pathetic psychological trap. Ormud's face twisted into a cruel grin. Not so confident now, are you, rise, my frozen puppets. The dead adventurers were yanked into the air like macabre marionettes. The survivor screamed. Those were his brothers in arms. Kill him, Ormud commanded. As the puppets swarmed, the protagonist realized this world's mechanics were evolving beyond the game. First Helbrus, now this. These demon lords were definitely not following the original script anymore. Ormud's eyes then locked onto the last survivor. I see one little bird is still breathing, he sneered, preparing to strike. He gathered dark energy to finish him, but the protagonist was faster. A silver flash, and the demon lord's hand hit the floor. Eyes on me, big guy, the protagonist taunted, pointing at himself. Ormud let out a blood-curdling shriek of pure rage. I am cursed, he howled. The system confirmed Demon Lord Ormud is afflicted with deadly poison 10 HP loss every second. Driven to desperation, he roared, summon Ice Tokamara. Suddenly, a level 99 nightmare manifested before our hero. The protagonist didn't flinch. In fact, a small smile played on his lips. Finally, I was wondering when you'd call for backup. As the main character charged into the fray, Ormud could only laugh. Does this fool really think he can survive this? Paralytic terror had stolen his senses, but the system suddenly announced the impossible. Level 99 Ice Dokamura defeated. The Demon Lord gazed in sheer disbelief at his slaughtered legion. Meanwhile, the protagonist checked the glowing system notification. Smirking, he celebrated his prize, the rare Ice Dokamura Fang. His mind immediately began calculating his next move. The centipede's durability was tanking, dropping fast to 493 out of its 1500 limit. He shot the Demon Lord a mocking look, casually apologizing because their little game was officially over. What kind of monster is he? The demon hissed. Ignoring him, our hero gripped his weapon as requirements shifted to green. A golden window flashed before his eyes. The centipede's legendary third skill was finally unlocked and ready for blood. Item unknown rank centipede, strength 66, durability 493 remaining. The stats were barely holding on. Skill 1 keen gaze for critical strikes. Skill 2 speed, a massive 10 times agility buff. Total game changers. This buff only triggers when death is knocking. Meanwhile, Garuda was still busy terrorizing the defenseless survivors. One victim begged for mercy, calling him master, but Garuda just scratched his ear, annoyed by the pathetic noise. This place was scenic, sure, but the daily massacre was becoming a total drag for someone like him. He raised his hand to finish the survivor, but a violent gale suddenly disarmed him. Mira had arrived. So this is where the Blue Snake Guild's master was crawling, she spat. Garuda's eyes widened in shock. She listed his sins, murder, trafficking, and fraud. The list of his atrocities felt like it would never end. Sylph clung to her as Mira mocked the coward for butchering his own people just to stay hidden. With a snap, she summoned the heavy hitters Ondine of Water, Ifrit of Fire, and Sylph of the Winds. As the legendary trio materialized, Garuda realized he was cooked. Spirits are the absolute peak of summoning magic. She brought out 3 at once, Garuda stammered, asking if the community had sent this overpowered monster after him. By order of the League of Eight, she declared, I'm here to drag you back to the adventurer community. Back at the fight, the system pinged again. The conditions were perfect. The centipede's third skill was finally online. He'd waited forever for this moment. The Demon Lord just roared, Don't make me laugh, you pathetic brat. To the demon, he was just prey. He didn't want a meal. He wanted to shred the boy into nothingness. Hunching over the demon channeled raw frost energy until massive wings of ice erupted from his spine. He took to the sky with a maniacal laugh, taunting that everything looks better when you're looking down on death. Our hero didn't flinch. He rose to meet him, smiling right into the Demon Lord's twisted, arrogant face. Watching a total clown like you is pretty entertaining, he mocked. The demon's face contorted into pure, murderous rage. Channeled frost formed a jagged ice trident in the demon's hand. No despair, he screamed, lunging forward. The demon unleashed a whirlwind of lethal strikes, but the protagonist danced through the chaos with effortless ease. Centipede skill, 3 melting, he whispered. The system confirmed the blade was turning into a molten, lethal liquid. The blade could now mimic any shape for 48 hours. He realized the potential was absolutely insane. This shape-shifting ability meant his combat style was now limited only by his own imagination. Total freestyle destruction. The demon cackled, promising to prolong his agony, unaware he was already walking into a death trap. Before the demon could finish his trash talk, the protagonist blazed toward him like a vengeful comet. The trident went up in a panic, but Gate of 1,000 Poisons sliced through him like butter. It was a world record execution. The system immediately confirmed the kill. Demon Lord Ormud had been neutralized. Congratulations flashed across the screen. The dungeon was cleared, and the nightmare was finally over for now. Time remaining 1 hour 21 minutes. Our hero looked at the fallen beast and let out a breath. Perfect, he muttered, eyeing his record time. Below him, the survivor watched in absolute soul-shaking awe. Was this guy even human? He just soloed a demon lord. Then a final system prompt appeared for Richard. Time's up, Richard. In a flash of light, the survivor vanished, leaving the hero alone in the silence. He'll be safe back in the city. The mission was a success, and the materials were finally his. Item secured Ice Dokamura Fong S rank, the perfect ingredient for the high-level crafting he desperately needed. He stared at the window focused. Only the ancient red soil remained on his high-stakes shopping list. This was for his mother's life. But suddenly, the earth groaned and buckled. Something massive was coming. Mira continued channeling her aura toward the guildmaster. He let out a chilling smirk. Witnessing her burning resolve, she screamed, "Breath of fire!" A torrent of flames erupted toward Garuda. He parried the strike effortlessly. Mira's expression hardened as she unleashed a massive torrential wave. Her spirit charged forward, but Garuda's blade sliced right through it. In that split second, the main character watched from the shadows, wondering if this guy actually rivaled Mira's insane power. He is a high-level swordsman. Is this the master? Mira was hunting. Garuda just shouldered his blade. "You want to go?" he taunted. He expected more from a League of Eight member. What a total letdown. He gripped his hilt as a terrifying energy began spiraling around his sword. He lunged with a roar. Whirlwind strike. He shredded Mira's form into a dozen pieces. Our hero stood there, completely stunned. Garuda exhaled, thinking the fight was already over. "How pathetic," he mocked. Her spirits were all bark and no bite, but Mira's voice echoed. "This guy is a total clown. He has no clue how outclassed he really is." Garuda froze. Mira was actually perched on the second-floor railing. Garuda, the disgraced former member of the Eight. He spun around, eyes wide with shock. "Was that a mirage?" She mocked his fall from grace. "You chose a path of failure," she spat. "Now let me show you a real attack." She unleashed a surge of mana. Garuda felt a chill. What is this pressure? Heavenly spirit Karen materialize, he panicked. A fourth spirit, he was in deep trouble. The floor was drenched. "Stop," he begged. But Mira's gaze remained cold as ice. "Did you stop?" When your victims begged divine command, countless energy beams pierced through his body. He shrieked in agony before collapsing. Mira stood over him. A pathetic end for a villain. Man, she is terrifying, Jinfrey thought. She is a beast. Suddenly, she looked right at him. "How long have you been lurking there, Jinfrey?" He stepped out awkwardly, scratching his head. Busted, he thought. He quickly tried to explain that he wasn't intentionally stalking her. "Since you didn't blow my cover, we are good," she replied. She had been observing him too. Her mission. It was true then. This loser was the leader of the Blue Snake Guild. She sensed the Demon Lord's aura was gone. "Did you take him out?" He nodded. "Not bad. I am impressed," she said. "I have got to run though. Duty calls. Catch you later. I am sure our paths will cross again." Then she vanished toward the exit. Soon after, at the Adventurous Society, Garuda was rotting behind bars in heavy chains. Nick smiled at the report. "Thanks to your intel, Garuda is done. Exceptional work, Mira. The Blue Snake Guild is history. This should scare the other criminal syndicates into hiding." Mira nodded, but something was off. "Is there a problem?" Nix asked, sensing her distraction. "It is nothing official," she whispered. "But there is one adventurer I cannot stop thinking about." Meanwhile, Jinfrey stepped out of the teleporter. Nice third floor reached. Squinting against the light, he focused. "Once the Demon Lord here falls, I will finally have it. The final ingredient for the panacea." But first, he checked his stats. Centipede rank unknown. Strength rating 66. Durability sitting at 299 out of 1,500. He gripped the hilt. "If I face the Third Lord now, this blade will definitely shatter. It is too worn out. I need a new weapon. The fourth secret equipment should be here." A short trip later, he arrived at the Flying Dragon Hotel in the central city. The receptionist greeted him with a polite smile. "Welcome. Looking for a place to stay?" "Yes," he replied smoothly. "I need a single room. 2 rooms, actually. Third from the north, and the fourth from the west." The worker's eyes widened. "Right away, sir. I understand. I hope your stay is pleasant." Jinfrey descended the secret stairs, glad he remembered the code. He earned it during that special event on floor 5. Then the arena appeared, and the system pinged. Deep within a mysterious dungeon's 3rd floor lies a brutal fight club. There stands the legendary Mayweather Inouye. Inouye smirks, noticing a fresh face. "A new challenger. Let's see if this kid has any real backbone." Jinfrey locks eyes with him. This is no ordinary NPC. His overwhelming pressure is the real deal. Claiming the secret gear won't be easy, but Jin is ready. Suddenly, the announcer's voice booms through. "Main event time. Champion Inouye versus amateur Jinfrey. Let the carnage begin." In the red corner, standing 184 centimeters and weighing a massive 127 kilograms, undefeated boxing god champion Inouye. In the blue corner, weighing 68 kilograms and standing 173 centimeters, the mysterious newcomer Jinfrey. With piercing blue eyes and obsidian hair, he enters. Weapons are banned. This is a battle of pure fists. A single 3-minute round decides everything. Points are the only currency in this lethal underground ring. Strike invisible vital spots to score. First to 100 points, or whoever has the lead takes the glory. 1 knockdown means instant defeat. Steel your nerves because the hunt is officially on. The bell tolls. Inouye lunges forward like a predator, throwing a blistering jab that forces Jin into defense. He's terrifyingly fast for a heavyweight. the announcer screams. The champion is relentless, but the rookie is holding. Jin parries another strike. He knows Inoi's secret. The champion always hunts for the highest scoring targets first. Speed is irrelevant if you can predict every move. Jin reads the rhythm before the punch even lands. Unbelievable, the announcer yells. This rookie is actually dancing around the boxing god's lethal strikes. Now, Jin counters with a lightning-fast straight right, but Inoi's guard is an iron wall. 2 minutes 27 seconds remain. Score check, Jin. Free leads with 1 point to Inoi's 0. The underdog draws first blood. Despite the block, Jin's precision snatched a point from the undefeated king. Inoi scoffs, unimpressed by the measly lead. But Jin's eyes burn. Don't hold back, he warns. Show me your full strength, Jin demands. He isn't here to play. He's here to survive the legend. A wicked grin spreads across Inoi's face. Interesting. He explodes forward, his blow carrying the weight of a mountain. Inoi realizes Jin has the eagle eye but lacks stamina. You'll gas out soon, he mutters, unleashing hell. Jin huddles behind his guard. He can't risk an opening. Pure defense is the only way forward now. This dungeon hides a cruel truth. The event is a secret trial rigged for a mandatory loss. Inoi's stats surge with every point Jin scores. The champion roars as he finally lands a crushing blow. Jin is losing his footing as Inoi traps him. 1 minute 38 seconds left on the clock. Current score Jin free, 1 Inoi 43. The champion has shifted into high gear, showing zero mercy. With a flurry of endless combos, Inoi overwhelms the rookie. Is that all? You've got, the champion screams. Pinched against the ropes, Jin maintains his focus. Winning this fight is impossible, and that's exactly the point. The fourth secret equipment is the prize for enduring. He just needs to survive these 3 hellish minutes. Inoi blinks in shock. Suddenly, the beaten rookie lunges forward, sinking a heavy blow into the champion's gut. How is he still moving? Inoi gasps. Jin strikes again. Only 57 seconds remain in this bloodbath. Score Jin 9, Inoi 51. Jin swings with everything he has, forcing the legend onto his heels. Inoi's blood boils with excitement. It's been ages since a fight felt this alive, but he's still the king. The counterattack hits hard. Jin has 13 points, but Inoi climbs to 68. The champion's glove looms large. A brutal uppercut catches Jin right on the chin. The crowd erupts as the rookie's head snaps back. Will he drop? The announcer shrieks. Miraculously, Jin stays upright. His sheer willpower is defying all logic. Time is vanishing. Will the goddess of victory bless the newcomer, or side with the reigning god? Respect, kid, but this ends now, Inoi shouts. He bounces on his toes, preparing for the final execution. Suddenly, a fist cracks against Inoi's jaw. A counter, the announcer yells. The rookie isn't finished yet. Both fighters are obsessed with the win. Inoi grins through the pain. You actually hit me. Impressive. I'm not falling today, Jin pants. Then the final buzzer rings. The most intense match is over. Inoi claims 97 points. Jin finishes with 49. The champion keeps his crown by the skin of his teeth. Time is up. Score Jin, free 49, Inoi 97. The legendary dungeon trial has concluded. 97 points. A voice boomed. What an absolute banger of a fight. He's already hyped for the rematch. Inoi struck a legendary pose, admitting his respect. Jin Free was the first warrior to ever last 3 whole minutes. To him, boxing is a raw collision of souls. Feeling that burning spirit, he reached out his hand. Take this gift, he offered. Our hero gripped it firmly, expressing his gratitude for the epic loot. He wrapped the cloth around his knuckles. Finally, the 4th piece of secret gear was his. The system chimed. Spiritual bandage obtained. Rank unknown. Power plus 150. Durability 5000. Skill 1, fire punches. This passive ability ignites his fists in a blaze, doubling his raw destructive force. But there's a catch. It drains 1 health point every second. Skill 2, counterattack. A move that mirrors strikes. It then retaliates with triple the power. As for skill 3, that one's still locked behind hidden conditions. Scanning the horizon, the protagonist smirked. With this new gear, it's finally time to make a move. He stood deep within the ghost ruins, a terrifying S-rank dungeon. As he stepped forward, he strategized. This place only houses one monster, a demon lord. Clearing the zone means taking down the big boss. But the spawn rate is a measly 0.1%. Hunting Jackal requires insane patience and grit. Most players wander these infinite ruins until they're physically broken and mentally drained, finding absolutely nothing but dust. But he doesn't have all day. He tightened his fist. It was time for the speedrun operation to begin. He pushed deeper, scanning the area. If the Lord won't show himself, he'll just have to force his hand. He's got to be close, he muttered. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a hidden sarcophagus. Jackpot. A coffin. He dragged the heavy stone from the dunes and offered a prayer. He didn't mean to disrespect the dead, but he was on a tight schedule. Thanks for the assist, he whispered, preparing for what came next. He pried it open, and a blinding light erupted. A tiny sphere of pure energy floated out from within, but he was about to wake it up. In a flash, the light streaked toward the sky like lightning. System alert. Skill 2. Spell detection activated. He could feel it. An overwhelming magical pressure was closing in fast. He grinned. Finally, he's here. Suddenly, the earth beneath his feet shattered into a massive, jagged crater. Emerging from the abyss was the legend itself. The system confirmed the third Demon Lord Jackal has appeared. This S-rank floor isn't just called the Ghost Ruins. It's also known by a more chilling name, Tomb of Spirits. They say restless souls haunt every inch. Jackal growled. Are you the one who dared defile this sanctuary? Level 150. Ability Scales of Justice. Jackal is the fearsome warden protecting these hallowed grounds. If anyone disturbs the peace, Jackal ensures they pay the ultimate price, with their very life and soul. He's the ultimate executioner for sinners. The Demon Lord introduced himself as Jackal, the judge of the underworld. As the guardian of souls, his mission is to pass judgment on the wicked. Then the system updated. He equipped the spiritual bandage, boosting his power rating by another 150 points immediately. Durability was maxed at 5,000. Jackal raised his scales high and roared a single word, justice. The Scales of Justice ability triggered. In a horrifying moment, the protagonist's soul was ripped right out. Jackal sneered, Your soul is tainted. I shall purge the filth. Our hero collapsed, his body trembling. The system warned. The Scales of Justice have passed their verdict. His soul slammed back into his form. Because his soul was marked as defiled, his stats plummeted by 30%. Jackal demanded he pay now. But the protagonist just smirked. This was all part of the plan. He knew exactly what would happen. The Scales of Justice is a nasty debuff for speedrunning. But to him, this penalty was totally insignificant. He just needed to crush the boss before things got worse. Jackal didn't wait, unleashing his bullet sign. Dark energy projectiles tore through the air, but he danced between them. His usual tricks wouldn't work here. Against a beast like this, only raw, unadulterated power would suffice. He pivoted sharply toward the monster. Another barrage of bullet signs flew. He vaulted into the air, cocking back a flaming fist to strike. He lunged, but Jackal slammed his weapon down, perfectly parrying the strike with his Aspis sign defense. Our hero scrambled back, wiping sweat away. This was hitting way harder than he had originally anticipated. That 30% strength nerf was starting to sting. Suddenly, a system alert popped up. Incoming call from Amelia. Amelia, what's wrong with Mom? He panicked. But there was no time to think as a hail of lead tore through the air, forcing him into a desperate dance of evasion. He couldn't afford to get distracted now. This fight needed to end, and it needed to end fast. Suddenly, Jackal conjured a swirling black vortex. The void lunged straight for him. No more hesitating. He triggered his ace in the hole, and the system announced, Spiritual Bandage activated. Wait, where did that fire come from? Jackal hissed in shock. The system interface flashed. His striking power had officially doubled. But there was a catch. His health was ticking down by 1 point every single second. Time for some fire-baked justice, he roared, unleashing a flaming haymaker. Flames erupted from his knuckles, skyrocketing his attack power at the cost of his own life force. It was a high-stakes gamble for ultimate strength. Jackal skidded to a halt, a smug grin plastered on his face. Cute trick. Honestly, those little sparks of yours are kind of a joke. Vaulting into the sky, the protagonist shot back. Is that so? Sounds like you're just coping. Jackal's face twisted in rage. You talk way too much human. Jackal began gathering a massive surge of dark energy above his head. He was going to make sure those were the brat's final words. He's going all out, the protagonist realized, his heart hammering. Before he could react, Jackal unleashed his ultimate move, Night Meteor. A colossal fist of pure energy exploded forward, slamming into the protagonist and sending him spiraling through the air like a rag doll. He crashed through a nearby building, turning it into rubble. Jackal laughed, surprised. That's the absolute power of my invisible fist. Emerging from the dust and jagged stone, the protagonist wiped his mouth. These lords were nothing like the game. They were smarter, faster, and way more dangerous. Why was the real world deviating so much from the scripted quest? Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. It was Amelia. Another call. I have to finish this now. He spat blood and stood tall. The demon lord blinked. How was he still standing? Did you really think that tickled the protagonist? Mocked, hiding his pain? Your attacks are as weak as your insults. Jackal's eyes flared. Still barking, I see the demon sneered. The protagonist settled into a combat stance, feeling the fire strike burning through his remaining health. He was bleeding out, and the phone wouldn't stop ringing. If he didn't end this in the next heartbeat, it was game over for real. Suddenly, another invisible blow sent him skidding across the dirt. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Something was very, very wrong. No other choice, he grunted. In a flash of light, he vanished into thin air, leaving Jackal screaming into the void. Where did you go? Seconds later, the protagonist materialized on the far side of the ruins, hidden from the demon's sight. He finally answered the call. Amelia, talk to me. What's happening? But his sister's voice was a frantic scream. Jennifer, where are you? Calm down, I'm finishing something up, he urged. Amelia choked back a sob. It's Mom. She's fading fast. The healer says she's out of time, she wept, her voice breaking. There's nothing left they can do. You have to get here now, she begged. Just then, Jackal touched down nearby, snarling. Did you really think you could lead me on a wild goose chase? Damn it, he found me already, the protagonist hissed. He shouted into the phone. Hang on, I'm coming home, Jackal just laughed. You think you can just walk away after desecrating these graves? Have you no shame, you pathetic mortal? Jackal lunged with another night meteor, but in a blur of motion the protagonist appeared behind him, his fists wreathed in roaring hellfire. Sorry, but I've got a more important appointment, he growled. This ends here. Fire punches maximum output. Jackal caught the flaming fist with one hand, a bored expression on his face. How tragic. Did you think this pathetic spark would be enough? Actually, yeah, the protagonist smirked. Despite Jackal's arrogance, the fire was eating through his defenses, dealing massive, searing damage. Jackal roared and threw a counterattack, but the protagonist danced out of the way. He needed more. He needed to stack his skills. He triggered his second spiritual bandage counterattack active. This wasn't just a block, it would return the blow 3 times stronger. As the Demon Lord closed in for the kill, the protagonist's eyes glowed. Gotcha, counterattack engage. The impact sounded like a bomb going off. The Demon Lord was blasted backward, shattering through solid rock as he flew. That's my double power mixed with your own triple strength. Night Meteor, the protagonist panted. Do the math. It's over. The system pinged. Demon Lord Jackal, level 150, has been officially eliminated. The rewards flooded in 3 million gold, and the legendary S-rank item, Jackal's Soul of the Ancient Red Soil. Finally, the materials I need, he gasped, not wasting a single second. He turned and sprinted toward the horizon, toward home. He reached his village on the outskirts of the first floor in record time, bursting through his front door. Amelia, Mom. His sister ran to him, her eyes red from crying. The healer stepped forward, his face grim. The magic deficiency has reached its final terminal stage. She's fallen into a deep coma, the healer whispered. The protagonist looked at his mother's pale face, his heart shattering. No, Mom. Her vitals are crashing and her magical core is empty, the healer explained. Even the highest tier magic can't save her now. It was a death sentence. Amelia collapsed by the bedside, her small hands clutching their mother's. Mom, please wake up, she wailed. The protagonist stepped forward, placing a steady hand on her shaking shoulder. Don't cry, Amelia. It's going to be okay. Death wouldn't claim her today. He'd save her. The healer stared completely speechless at his sheer determination. Amelia's voice cracked, pleading for help. He had bet every single level up point on this one chance. Intelligence 145. His synthesizer skill evolved, reaching a divine new rank. It was time. He fused Ancient Red Soil, Dokumara, Ice Fangs, and High Elf tiers all A rank. A double S-rank panacea suddenly manifested. One single sip would instantly purge every known terminal illness and restore every status. I did it. A true panacea, he cheered, while the healer stood paralyzed. I've only seen this in ancient texts. Is that the legendary panacea? Jennifer stammered to Amelia. It's real. He offered a quick apology, promising Amelia answers later, before rushing to his mother. Increased intelligence unlocked god-tier crafting. He had returned from the abyss just in the nick of time. Despite the frantic race for materials, he gently poured the glowing elixir into his mother's mouth. Please wake up. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open as the miracle cure took. Her eyes snapped open as she sat up dazed. Amelia's voice cracked, Mom, as she lunged into a desperate, tearful hug. Embracing her daughter, she whispered, Amelia, what happened? Then a familiar voice cut in. Mom, Jinfree said softly. Are you okay? How do you feel? Amelia beamed, realizing her mother's memories were finally beginning to flood back. Bedridden for so long, the reality was grim. Amelia confessed that their hearts were nearly crushed by the weight of worry. Without Jinfree's miraculous cure, she'd be gone. The mother froze in shock. How could her son perform such a miracle? The healer confirmed the impossible truth. Her own son had successfully brewed a legendary one-of-a-kind panacea. A panacea, she gasped. Finding a mythic cure like that was supposed to be impossible for a boy like Jinfree. Had he truly risked it all as an adventurer, he simply smiled, relieved just to see her healthy and vibrant again. Suddenly, she erupted in anger. This is not good, she yelled, pointing a trembling finger at her startled, confused son. Jinfree, you vanished, abandoned your family, and became a dangerous adventurer without even telling your mother. He raised his hands defensively, stammering that he hadn't abandoned them, but she shouted him down before he could explain. He reflexively ducked as she yelled, Yes, Mom. She compared his reckless spirit to his father's, since he was a child. The healer slipped away with a smile, while Amelia rushed over, desperately pleading for her mother to finally calm down. Jinfree saved your life, she reminded her. Meanwhile, our hero marveled at the sheer overwhelming power of the panacea. Softening, the mother clutched her chest. I understand. But Jinfree, what would we do if you never came back? Mom, he whispered. She was grateful he was safe, but her conditions for his return were legendary and absolute. Go defeat every last demon lord first, she commanded, pointing toward the door with an unbreakable, fiery resolve. Amelia stood there stunned. Even the protagonist expected a warm welcome home meal instead of a direct order for war. Seriously, she's been my mother for years, he thought as she reached out to gently cup his youthful cheek. You have the exact same look as your father, she added softly. She saw the burning fire of destiny in him. Is this your path, to achieve greatness as an adventurer? He nodded firmly, and she sat down, finally accepting his choice. Then go do it. Since she was healed, he was free, but he had to keep 2 life-or-death promises first. First, call me every single day so I know you're alive. Jinfree gave a quick, reassuring okay to her. Second, I forbid you from dying. He looked her in the eye and promised to return to her safely. One last thing, she pulled him into a hug, thanking him deeply. We'll be waiting right here at home for you. Soon after, he stepped outside, vowing to return. His mind shifted to the grim reality of the magic deficiency plague. This incurable curse where monsters steal a person's mana had claimed his mother until he used the panacea to save her. If he could wipe out the demon lords, he'd create a peaceful world where this devastating illness would vanish forever. Yet in the game, monsters remained even after the bosses fell. Perhaps there was a hidden, unseen threat lurking. Could a secret 8th demon lord be the key? Sometime later, he finally arrived at the massive 3rd floor's hub. In the heart of the Colosseum's Olympia battlefield, the protagonist moved through the dense, buzzing crowd of warriors. The atmosphere was electric. Suddenly, a voice boomed. The 11th tournament for the strongest adventurer is officially underway. Let's go. Fans screamed as the Olympia battle began. Jinfree covered his ears, feeling the overwhelming energy of the arena. This place is as wild as ever, he muttered. Adventurers from 7 floors had gathered to claim their ultimate glory. Every participant's level was capped at 150, with all stats scaled to ensure a perfectly level playing field. However, class skills and gear were unrestricted. Jinfree kept his hands in his pockets, plotting his next move. To take down the demon lords, he needed to grow stronger. The 1 billion gold prize was just the beginning. The real treasure everyone craved was the SS rank class transfer guide, the key to reaching the absolute peak of power. Preliminary rounds start now, the voice announced. They would measure magical capacity and raw attack power to find the best. Only the top 8 elites would advance. Place your hands on the magic circle to measure your inner mana. Soon, the results were ready. The crowd watched the rankings flash across the screen with bated breath and excitement. First place, 1,190. Second, 1,033. The top ranks were separated by mere points. But then the system glitched as a new name appeared. Jinfree, $18,000, 920 points. The crowd went silent. Our hero had just shattered the record, proving his power was on a completely different level. With a score that high, the competition wasn't just a tournament, it was about to become a one-sided massacre. 189.72? Seriously, he was dead last on the scoreboard. He ground his teeth in frustration. He knew his synth's mana was low, but this was a total disaster. Being the only level 150 there, the pressure was on as the host moved to the next phase. It was time for a raw power test. The goal, smash that device with everything they had. Our hero stared down the machine unfazed. His mana was lacking, but his physical stats, top tier. He focused every ounce of energy into his palm. Fire punch, he roared, igniting his fist. This skill doubles his output and a counter triples it. He lunged forward, aiming for a perfect strike. Activating Night Meteor, his power surged 6-fold. A bone-shaking rumble suddenly echoed through the hall. Everyone stared at Jinfree in pure shock. Finally, the host stepped up to reveal the official rankings. Jinfree claimed the throne at first place. Ryuta, Janice, and Glincy followed, filling out the top 4. Shiba Flag secured the final 5th spot. As cheers erupted, our MC finally let out a massive sigh of relief. He'd been sweating bullets being last in Magic, but he'd completely flipped the script. With the scores combined, the host introduced the Elite 8 Warriors moving into the Grand Finals. Jinfree was in, obviously. But suddenly, a familiar female voice called out. It was Mira. She cornered him, accusing him of stalking her. Wait, how did she even get here? He panicked. She glared at him, clearly annoyed. I should be asking you that. Why are you everywhere I go? Mira was suspicious. She was convinced he'd used some high-tier cheat equipment to land that insane punch. Reading her thoughts, Jinfree gave a nervous smile. Are you after the class change manual too? Her eyes sparked with interest. To reach the top, you absolutely need that elite class upgrade. Since she was famous, she'd entered under a secret alias, Lima alias. Stealth mode activated. The hype reached a fever pitch as the host officially kicked off the high-stakes final tournament. 8 fighters, 1 winner. The prize, 1 billion gold, and that legendary class change manual. Our MC realized that if they both cleared the quarters, they'd be heading for a massive showdown. Round 1 began. The host called Jinfree and Glincy Mistal to take their places in the arena. Mira tossed a sarcastic good luck before leaving. Jinfree rolled his eyes and stepped onto the battlefield. The crowd whispered, "A potion master in the finals." Most people thought it was a total fluke. Boos erupted from the stands. People were screaming that the measurements must have been rigged. They laughed at the weird halo above his head, while his opponent Glincy sized him up with contempt. Glincy Mistal, the elite alchemist and silver guild master, just laughed at the pathetic potion master. The audience adored him. Rumor said his self-made armor was literally an impenetrable fortress. Everyone put their money on Glincy, as the host shouted for the match to officially start. "A weirdo potion master, my lucky day," Glincy sneered, expecting a total snooze fest. He blinked and Jinfrey vanished. In a flash, the MC was standing right in his face. A flaming fist connected, followed by a brutal high-speed barrage of strikes straight to the dome. Blood sprayed everywhere. With a devastating final blow, Jinfrey literally punched a tooth out of his mouth. Glincy was launched across the ring, crashing into the stone wall. The entire arena fell deathly silent. Then, the crowd exploded. Even the host was stunned. This was an absolutely legendary upset. Glincy was out cold. Meanwhile, Jinfrey just scratched his head, wondering if he'd gone a bit too far. Mira didn't miss a beat. She watched intently, trying to decode the secret of those fire gloves. Jinfrey was the winner. Next up, it was Mira's turn to face off against Edison Sats. The audience buzzed with sexist comments, claiming the Colosseum was no place for a woman. Mira ignored the noise. Our MC just sighed, thinking the world was full of idiots who never learned. Edison, a creepy old man, gave a sleazy grin. "Let me hold your hand and I'll go easy on you." Bad move. Mira didn't hesitate instantly, summoning her heavy hitters, the spirits Sylph and Ifrit. Ifrit unleashed a face-melting fire breath. The old man got toasted, leaving the crowd absolutely speechless. A female warrior crushed her opponent with zero effort, forcing the announcer to crown her victor. Jennifer stood stunned, barely believing how effortless it looked. The crowd's mockery flipped to pure hype instantly. "She is a beast," they roared, as she steamrolled through every subsequent match without breaking a sweat. As the fourth round wrapped up, the bracket was set. It is Mira versus Jennifer in a high-stakes semifinal opener that has everyone on edge. Meanwhile, Ryuta Factor faces Janess Samaran in the second slot. Our main character's eyes locked onto Janess, sensing a dangerous veteran presence. This guy radiated an aura that put the other rookies to shame. He was easily on Mira's level, maybe even leagues above her. Semi-final one go, Jinfrey and Mira stepped onto the sands to deafening cheers. Mira flashed a cocky grin, looking down her nose at him. "Last chance to run," she taunted. Jinfrey just shrugged, retorting that this was the perfect moment to see who was actually top dog. Time to prove who is truly built different. Without a word, she summoned the fire spirit Ifrit, and our main character dropped into a lethal combat stance. The arena went wild for the flashy magic, but Jinfrey groaned inwardly. One spirit was a headache, but she was not done yet. Undine and Kieran materialized beside her, sending a chill down his spine. Why was she pulling out a triple summon so early? Dealing with 3 spirits plus a master summoner was a total nightmare. A spectator screamed that they had never seen such insane mana capacity. To cast 3 at once was impossible. She laughed, acknowledging his strength by promising not to hold back even a tiny bit. She was going all out. Jinfrey did not flinch, but then Undine unleashed dragon waves surging toward him like a tidal wave of destruction. A massive torrent blasted his way. He pivoted instantly, narrowly avoiding the soak, only for Mira to follow up with a blinding lightning strike. Kieran's bolts hissed past his ears, missing by an inch. He shot the spirit a wary look. That speed was absolutely cracked. A violent explosion rocked the arena, leaving a scorched crater where he had just stood. Jinfrey wiped sweat from his brow that was way too close. One direct hit meant game over. Suddenly, Ifrit lunged with a roar of flames. Jinfrey spun on his heel, facing the heat head-on. He countered with a flaming fist of his own, shattering the fireball into harmless embers. Mira clicked her tongue, clearly annoyed by his tenacity. "Are you actually trying to murder me?" Jinfrey yelled. Mira stayed quiet, sizing him up. He was a weirdo, but he was dangerously sharp. His instincts were elite, meaning she could not slip up. "You are more desperate than I imagined," she scoffed, trying to rattle his focus. "Maybe I gave you too much credit," she added. He let out a dry laugh, pointing out that she needed 3 bodyguards just to stand her ground. If she needed spirits to do her dirty work, maybe she was not the big deal, she claimed. "Too bad they cannot aim," he teased. The fans were all in on Mira, dumping their bets on her while hurling trash talk at Jinfrey from the nosebleed seats. The disrespect was getting old. One guy even shouted that Jinfrey had bought his way into the finals. After hearing that garbage, he let out a long, heavy sigh to keep his cool. These clowns were really starting to test his patience. Meanwhile, Mira was plotting. She knew the Colosseum attracted arrogant wannabes, but this guy's ego was on a whole other level. It was time to humble him. Her smirk turned predatory as she looked down on him. "Let us end this," she declared, activating divine command to overclock Kieran's power. A jagged spear of electricity tore through the air. He bolted, but Undine intercepted him instantly, her hands already glowing with a new spell. He was trapped. Kieran cut off his retreat while Undine charged up. Managing 3 high-level spirits at once was a massive pain. He barely had a second to breathe, let alone counterattack. He ducked and weaved through the chaotic crossfire, heart pounding in his chest. The adrenaline was finally kicking in, his blood was starting to boil. Mira kept the pressure at max, refusing to let him reset. He noticed Ifrit was hanging back. She knew fire would not work. Was she using the others as a distraction for a sneak attack? Since offense is the best defense, he triggered a movement skill and vanished into thin air. Mira's eyes widened, her target gone. He reappeared right in her blind spot, launching a devastating fire fist. Checkmate, he thought, certain the fight was over. But a sudden intuition froze him in place. A system alert flashed red. He had walked straight into Mira's lethal trap. She pointed a single finger to the sky, invoking storm wind. While he was busy with the others, she had stealthily summoned Sylph. The trap was sprung. He looked up in shock as the wind spirit loomed over him, ready to unleash absolute chaos. She had used herself as bait just to lure him into a crossfire. A violent, razor-sharp gale slammed into him with hurricane force. The crowd leaned in, breathless, squinting through the rising dust and smoke. Mira was certain no one could survive that point-blank blast. But as the haze dissipated, her jaw dropped. There he was, battered, but still standing tall amidst the ruins of the arena floor. Against all odds, Jinfree had tanked the ultimate move. The stadium erupted in a thunderous roar, completely losing their minds at the spectacle. He coughed out some dust, admitting she had almost had him. If his reflexes were not god tier, he would be a stain on the pavement. His trump card was active, with only 3 charges left. Mira tensed up as our main character suddenly lunged at her like a predator. "We are just getting started," he roared. Mira watched him close the gap, stunned that anyone could chain skills with such terrifying precision. His skill combos were flawless. Did this guy even have a cooldown limit? Panicked, she swung her hand to call for reinforcements. Jinfree commanded Ifrit to strike. The spirit lunged, intercepting the path. Fists collided instantly, snuffed the blazing flames. Mira realized Ifrit's defense was absolute against her fire. Jinfree smirked his eyes, tracking her every desperate movement. He rained down heavy blows. Mira screamed that his pathetic physical assaults wouldn't change the inevitable outcome. He understood fighting fire with fire was futile. But Jinfree had a far more devious endgame in mind. Faking a punch, he ditched his gloves and brandished a hidden dagger. Poison glinted on the blade's edge. The spirit couldn't react in time. Jinfree vanished into his melting skill, surging toward her like liquid heat. His blade turned into molten steel, shifting shape instantly. It transformed into a terrifying metallic centipede. The metal beast coiled around the girl, shattering her focus. Before she could react, it dissolved into mist. Jinfree's trap snapped shut as he hoisted her mid-air. He began crushing her, ignoring her frantic struggles to escape. He squeezed with bone-breaking force, cutting off her voice. She couldn't even summon a spirit as she gasped for air. Jinfree exhaled. A second later, and the centipede's duration would have expired. He'd barely made the window. The announcer's voice boomed. Mira Elias was out. Jinfree withdrew his weapon, catching the collapsing girl before she hit the ground. The stadium erupted in cheers. Mira pouted, muttering about how much she detested losing. Jinfree just looked surprised. She wasn't actually furious. Instead, she begrudgingly admitted that his combat skills were on a whole different level. He shoved a vial of antidote into her hand. She took it quietly as he walked away without a word. She stared at his back, realizing his prowess surpassed any ordinary summoner. He was a monster who couldn't be ignored. A system alert flashed. Mira was absolutely obsessed with his gear. Jinfree let out a dark, crooked smile. Teleportation fire fists. She couldn't wrap her head around that mysterious sword. She'd never seen anything like it. Curiosity burned through her like a fever. Meanwhile, the second semifinal was about to ignite the arena. The host beckoned Ryuta and Janice to center stage. They faced off, the tension thick enough to cut. Ryuta grinned, boasting he'd end this in seconds. Janice just nodded coldly as the starting signal rang out. Walking back, Jinfree heard a deafening explosion. He turned just in time to see Janice obliterate Ryuta instantly. Janice stood victorious, a true swordmaster, and Jinfree's final hurdle in the upcoming championship match. Something about the man felt off, dangerous. The host finally announced the 2 legends for the grand finale. It was Jinfree Van Raid, the Dark Horse Alchemist, versus Janice Cimmerian, the cold-blooded destroyer of champions. The curtains were closing on the tournament. It was time for the ultimate showdown. Mira taunted Jinfree, telling him to try not to die. He just groaned and headed into the pit. The crowd roared, but the fighters remained silent. The moment the bell rang, Janice lunged with lethal intent. He unleashed a terrifying wave of energy, claiming victory was already his. Jinfree just smirked at his cold attitude. But Jinfree was radiating pure heat. Mira watched, realizing these two were perfectly matched monsters. Jinfree knew he needed a quick kill. It was time to unleash his ultimate class title skill. System alert. For the next 3 minutes, every single stat was about to be doubled. He had 3 rounds. If the fight lasted longer, his spiritual protection would completely shatter. Activating his first two skills paved the way for this power-up. He was becoming something legendary. Defeat would mean a devastating price. For now in round 1, his power was already doubling. Round 2 would triple it. By round 3, he'd be 4 times stronger. Janus drew his blade, inviting death. Janus blurred, closing the gap instantly. Jinfree's eyes widened, but his instincts kicked in just in time. He backflipped mere millimeters away from the blade. Janus didn't miss a beat, pursuing him with relentless strikes. Panic flared. Jinfree recognized those movements. This guy wasn't just a master, he'd already second awakened. It was a class evolution, unlocking Tier 1 abilities that made ordinary adventurers look like children. He wove through a flurry of steel, jumping high as the blade hissed beneath his boots. Creating space, Jinfree lunged back his fist, erupting into a supernova of spiritual flames. Before the punch landed, Janus flickered away with insane speed. He looked back, with pure, unadulterated arrogance. "Is that all?" he mocked. "You're slower than a turtle." Jinfree stayed silent, focusing his energy. This wasn't a normal fight. Jinfree knew conventional tactics would fail against a swordmaster. Round 2 began, his stats tripled. Janus sensed the shift and lunged. Our hero smirked, thankful for his recent power-up. Janus scoffed, noting Jinfree's speed had improved, but he was still just a fly to him. Executing a brutal counter, he teleported before him, mocking the protagonist's pathetic reaction time. A massive blast sent him skidding. Mira panicked while Jinfree realized this monster was on another level. Suddenly, light erupted. Janus leveled his blade and triggered a devastating skill. Pure energy gathered at the tip before a blinding beam slammed Jinfree into the arena wall. Barely escaping, he leapt over the crowd, landing back in the ring with a grim expression. This guy was a master wielding high-tier techniques that even legends found impossible. The stakes were skyrocketing. Half the arena roared for Janus, the other for our underdog alchemist. Mira knew Janus was elite league material. Could Jinfree actually survive this onslaught? The system pinged. Round 2 was over. His stats quadrupled instantly. It was the final round, his one shot at glory. He unleashed Fire Strike. Janus flinched, sensing a terrifying new aura radiating from his opponent. One hit to decide it all. Both warriors charged, but Janus didn't expect that insane maneuver. Like a predator, the main character pounced from the shadows, closing in for the finishing blow. Janus evaded, but Jinfree pivoted instantly, flashing a hidden dagger. The crowd gasped in shock. A mid-air weapon swap, he activated melting, turning solid steel into freezing slush. Paranoid about poison, Janus hesitated and took a flaming fist straight to the solar plexus. Gasped for air, Janus recoiled. Jinfree grinned victory in sight, but the warrior refused to stay down. With a roar, he swung. But in a blink, our hero vanished into thin air yet again. Janus scanned the ground frantically, unaware that Jinfree was hovering directly above his head. He'd finally unlocked a trump card from his battle against the class-changing adventurer. Skill 3, Great Dragon. A devastating air-slicing strike with a massive 96-hour cooldown. Cyclones swirled around his feet. Janus sensed the kill shot and looked up in pure terror. A titanic wind dragon roared to life, diving straight for him. There was nowhere to run. The impact crushed him against the stone. As the dust settled, Janus lay motionless and defeated. The announcer signaled the end. It was over. Against all odds, Jinfree stood victorious. Jinfree punched the air, relishing the win. Thank God the buff lasted long enough to finish it. While he soaked up the fame, Mira slipped away, fueled by a new desire for strength. The prize, 1 billion gold, and the legendary class change guide. A king's ransom. He headed straight for the Lebanon altar, an S-class dungeon shrouded in mystery. Finally, the prize he'd been grinding for was within reach. It was go time. The system prompted use guide now. Most players wouldn't think twice. But Jinfree knew the secret. He declined gambling everything on a hidden mechanic. The system warned it would be destroyed. Without blinking, he confirmed the choice. Bingo. The secret menu popped up, offering to exchange the guide for something much better. He accepted, and a glow revealed an item no player had ever seen. Only at the altar can you trade your class path for god-tier equipment. The ultimate flex. Behold the commemorative pendant. Rank unknown. This thing was absolutely cracked. 700 intelligence and a unique skill, battle record. Now he can steal any opponent's class. A devilish smirk crossed his face. He was no longer bound to one path. He could now adapt mid-fight using his enemy's best abilities against them. Total domination. Their powers were now his to command. Talk about an unfair advantage. With the third Demon Lord down, he pushed forward to the ominous 4th floor. He paused at the portal, nerves kicking in. This place was unlike anything he'd ever faced. This continent boasted the deadliest survival rate of all. Stealing his nerves, he leaped through the gate to reach floor 4. A tropical paradise awaited. He landed on a beach swarming with high-level players. Some surfed waves while others flexed on loungers to impress the ladies. Cocktails flowed everywhere. Jinfree sensed a trap. This vibe felt way too suspicious. This massive resort continent tricked warriors into forgetting the brutal grind of war. A unique haven for heroes, but your own destiny must still be forged. Most get too comfortable abandoning the tower and failing their mission forever. Strolling the sand, a mysterious girl suddenly asked if he was flying solo. He eyed her warily. Who was she? This girl screamed trouble from miles away. Her ears were different. Could she be a member of the sea wolf race? Calling herself Kukuru, she offered to guide him through every inch of this paradise. Hidden beneath her smile was the legendary King of Thieves advancement class, a master swimmer of the deep sea. She then casually asked for his name. He gave his name but declined her help. She just ignored him and snatched his hand. She insisted on showing him her top spots, ignoring his lack of free time. She kept pulling him along, then abruptly stopped shooting him, a look of pure annoyance. After a quick shoulder pat and a goodbye, she bolted away without a second thought. Stunned and confused by her behavior, he shrugged it off and kept walking. He paused to check his stats. Upon opening his bag, his jaw hit the floor. His spiritual bandage had vanished. He stared at the system window in disbelief. Where is it? It was that girl. She had played him like a fiddle right there on the beach. Celebrating her haul, she initially thought he was just a broke nobody. Instead, she had scored a treasure that would net her a massive payday. Distracted by her luck, she slammed right into a lady and blurted out an apology. The lady asked if she was hurt. Shockingly, it was Mira standing right there. A roar of pure rage echoed as Jinfree charged toward them at full speed. "I have got you now," he bellowed. The thief's heart started racing with panic. Mira blinked in surprise, but a sudden wave of dread washed over her. She tried to speak, but he was too tunnel-visioned to even notice her presence. His eyes were locked on the thief. Kukuru bolted, but he snatched her wrist instantly. He demanded his loot back immediately. Naturally, she began acting completely innocent. "Stop lying and fess up," he yelled. Suddenly, an icy drink drenched his hair. Mira glared at him. "Give it a rest. Why are you bullying a child?" Finally spotting her, he gasped. "Wait, is it you again? Seriously?" She greeted him coldly, demanding he release the girl before he caused real harm. He let go, and Mira scoffed. "So, you have resorted to threatening kids now. Stay out of this," he snapped. "You have got the wrong idea entirely." He tried to explain, but a blood-curdling scream and the sound of iron interrupted. Shackles slammed shut around her wrists. She didn't even see the trap coming. Thugs shoved her into a bag. These monsters were specialized sea wolf hunters. As they bragged about their prize, Jinfree watched in pure shock. "Hold it, she still owes me," he warned. The thugs just smirked back. They had been tailing him since the Colosseum. The beast girl was just an extra. "You are the jackpot," they sneered. Mira recognized the infamous Kongu Guild kidnappers targeting players. Jinfree realized they wanted his gold, just like in the game. They claimed escape was impossible, but Jinfree vanished before they could strike. Their leader pivoted, ordering them to seize Mira as bait. Hanging from a tree, Jinfree teased her about her fame while she groaned at her terrible luck with this notorious group. Time to get serious. As Mira distracted the goons, a thief snatched the bag containing poor Kukuru. The kidnapper bolted. Jinfree lunged after him, but a thug cut him off. "Move it or else," Jinfree warned. These clowns were still fourth continent adventurers. Even idiots have some skill at that level, he realized. Fighting unarmed was suicide. Luckily, Mira had already clapped her target and was looking for more action. Backed by her spirit, she mocked his hesitation. "Why just stand there? Step aside and let me finish this." Jinfree sheepishly rubbed his neck. "I would love to, but that brat literally jacked my weapon." Suddenly, the thug lunged, swinging deadly chains. Jinfree barely danced through the lethal steel links. Mira questioned his next move. "I am chasing her," he snapped. "Got anything I can use?" She looked confused. "A weapon, like a flask." "Don't be ridiculous," he shouted, losing his patience. "Ever seen a synthesizer battle with a bottle? Just show me your inventory already." "Fine, Mr. Attitude." She sighed, flashing a screen showing her massive stash of gear. His jaw dropped. Her collection was cursed chaos, including a dark witch's staff that felt truly ominous. From hellish shields to random artifacts, none of it matched her class. This girl is a total freak. His foe, tired of the small talk, roared that they were just burning daylight. "Fight me already." Jackpot. He found a piece, but Mira gasped. "Wait, that gear is restricted to the thief class." "You cannot use that," she cried. "Watch me," Jinfree smirked instantly, swapping his class to thief. His pendant glowed, transforming his attire instantly. Mira stared stunned. A class change scroll. No way. That is impossible. Those classes are worlds apart. Suddenly, he snatched a random cloth from her hoard. "I will bring it back. Judging by this, you are a hardcore collector." Mira just stood there blinking. "It is just a sake-tasting wrap. Take it, but that is not a weapon." "What are you even doing?" He tied the cloth into a makeshift bag, smirking. "You have no clue what this actually does." Reaching inside, he told her to watch closely. Suddenly, he yanked out a massive, terrifying night demon club, an A-rank beast with 104 attack power. This club was pure, unadulterated destruction. Forged from hellish ogre armor, every strike is devastating. Mira's eyes went wide. That is impossible gear. She never knew that cloth held such secrets. Armed and ready, Jinfrey prepared to crush his attacker's charge. He lunged, shattering the man's chains with a brutal face-smashing blow. He scanned the area for his target. I wasted way too much time on this fodder. Where are they spotting a town? He signaled Mira. Mind if I borrow this? He asked, but Mira was zoned out frantically, scrolling through her inventory screen. Her precious muscle axe was gone. She shrieked at the system window, and Jinfrey's memory suddenly clicked. He'd reacted the same way to his own loss. That thief definitely swiped it, he said with pity. We are getting it back, he promised. But Mira didn't wait, blitzing toward the town in a fury. Hey, where are you going? Is it not obvious I am getting my axe back? She yelled back. That collection meant more to her than living. Later, the kidnappers finally made it back to their base. They tossed their prize before the boss, a rare beastman. Get your filthy hands off me, Kukuru spat. She will fetch a king's ransom, the second boss smirked. His brother nodded dollar signs in his eyes. Meet the Congo Guild rulers, Vice Master Agio Bajura, and his brother, the Guildmaster Undio Bajura. Did you find our primary target? Undio asked. His lackey grinned. Everything is going according to plan, sir. He will be here soon. Boom! The front door shattered as Mira kicked it right off its hinges. Give it back, thief, she roared. Jinfrey followed, sighing. Did you really have to wreck the door? Nothing stands in my way, she snapped. Not even a piece of wood. Kukuru's eyes lit up. Where are our guys? The thugs demanded. Mira just gave them a lethal stare. If you mean those losers, they are currently sleeping with the fishes, Mira cold-bloodedly replied. Hand over the girl or prepare for a funeral. Suddenly, she sensed a lethal surge of mana nearby. She blurred sideways, narrowly, dodging a high-level spell. It was Agio, looking down with pure disdain. Barging in like you own the place. How rude, Undio added, his voice dripping with arrogance and malice. Their target had vanished into thin air. He nodded grimly, realizing they'd have to corner them right here. Jinfrey sensed the looming storm, while Mira identified their foes as the notorious Bajura brothers. Every move was leaked to the community. Rising, the brothers smirked, claiming they were already steps ahead. Their rap sheet was miles long, and she looked like a walking jackpot, exactly like their mark. Agio gestured to end it. He unleashed wooden tentacles, but our hero blurred past the deadly vines. He hissed a curse, hating the forced confrontation. Without hesitation, Mira charged straight into the fray. This guild's reign of terror ended today. Summoning Sylph, the wind spirit lashed out with blinding speed. The blow tinkled off his earthen fortress. Mira's heart sank. Her wind spirit was completely ineffective here. Agio cackled, mocking her weak attempts to shatter his brother's impenetrable shield. Suddenly, Jinfrey soared over the wall, pinning Unjo, while claiming he held no personal grudges. However, since he was blocking the path, he'd better brace for the coming devastation. Agio's wooden vines slammed into him, launching him backward until he crashed violently against the stone. Mocking laughter followed, labeling Jinfrey a total joke. Unjo sneered, questioning his status as a top-tier adventurer. Gasping for air, they struggled to recover. Kukuru realized the Bajura brothers were far more lethal than rumored. Infamous for slavery and slaughter, they were monsters. Frustrated, our main character turned his mounting fury toward Mira. He snapped, sarcastically, calling her the ultimate teammate. Her reckless charge had ruined the entire plan. She fired back, calling him delusional. In her eyes, his pathetic power level was the real problem. Amidst their bickering, lethal fireballs streaked toward them, barely noticed before the searing heat arrived. A massive blast erupted, leaving nothing but a blackened crater where they once stood. Peeking from the shadows, the onlookers watched as the brothers declared the idiots officially neutralized. They barked orders to loot the bodies. Meanwhile, Kukuru's heart hammered against her ribs in sheer terror. Guilt consumed her. As the goon inspected the scorched earth, he muttered something utterly confusing. The corpses have vanished. Suddenly, Jinfrey's annoyed voice echoed directly from behind the shocked brothers. He grumbled about prioritizing the loot first. She snapped back, telling him to shove his bossy attitude. The brothers spun around, stunned by their survival. Seriously, aren't you sick of these clowns yet? Jinfrey sighed. She agreed, exhausted by them. As an elite adventurer, letting such scum escape was simply not an option. The League of Eight's honor was on the line. Massaging his temples, he begged her to finally listen. Ignoring him, she unleashed Undine's watery wrath. The spirit surged forward, channeling a devastating tidal skill. Unjo slammed down an earthen wall. Mira grimaced, hesitant to summon the volatile fire spirit, Ifrit. Desperation took over, but as she prepared the summon, Jinfrey slapped a random starfish onto her head. Hold your horses, he teased. The bizarre move completely broke her focus as he dismissed the summon. He demanded her cypress incense, toad oil, and a concentrated vial of Ifrit's scorched breath immediately. Tossing the starfish aside, she shrieked, wondering if he planned to raid her precious inventory again. He promised a spectacular reward for her cooperation. Intrigued, she reluctantly handed over the rare materials. "Betray me and you're dead," she hissed. Then Jinfrey's aura shifted as he swapped classes to Alchemist. His gear morphed instantly. Mira stared bewildered by his transformation from synthesizer to thief and now alchemist. What broken system was he using? Activating his skill, he forged a blackened wooden blade dripping with oil. An A-rank weapon with a measly 10 attack, Mira exploded, thinking she'd been scammed once again. "This is trash. Give my items back," she yelled. But Jinfrey just grinned, telling her to watch closely. He swapped classes again, becoming a high-level swordsman. Suddenly, the oily blade began to pulsate and evolve. Behold, the S-rank Ifrit sword, boasting a massive attack power of 149. Bathed in Ifrit's eternal flames, the blade unleashed a scorching whip that tore through the very air. Mira's jaw dropped in awe. Jinfrey explained that the blade's true form only awakens for a master swordsman. The crowd stood frozen. To Kukuru, witnessing a weapon evolve in real time felt like a divine miracle. Even Unjo was mesmerized. It took his brother's frantic shouting to snap him back to reality. He sneered, claiming no blade could save him. Against their ultimate technique, every weapon was utterly useless. Slamming his fist, he triggered Earthwave, launching a surge of sludge at Jinfrey. But suddenly, Mira countered with a violent burst of water. His eyes widened in shock. He'd walked into a trap. A swirling vortex instantly dragged him under. Mira mocked him, stating his pathetic defense couldn't stop the torrent. His invincibility shattered instantly. Adio screamed for his brother, his voice exploding into a bloodthirsty, vengeful roar. Twisted branches lunged like vipers, but our hero didn't flinch. It was time for a brand new skill. Inferno heat erupted as he unleashed a fire dragon. The flame beast swallowed his enemy in a flash. Agonizing screams filled the air as lackeys fled. Watching closely, Kukuru wondered, who are these monsters? The Bajura brothers were folded like laundry. Once bound, they were tossed onto Kiran's back like sacks. Dragging the thief out, Mira sighed in annoyance, deciding to grant her one final undeserved mercy. "Stay out of our territory, got it." She gave a cheeky promise before thanking them for the rescue. Jinfrey scoffed, knowing she'd be back to stealing, but Mira just turned to him with a look. She thanked him for the blade, admitting she owed him. As she vanished, Jinfrey's suspicious smirk grew. Approaching the portal, his secret plan worked. He'd stealthily swapped his class to thief under their noses. He'd actually pickpocketed Mira, the prize a shark mask, an epic item for breathing underwater with built-in comms. It was a one-time use item lasting 30 minutes. No time to lose, he strapped it on immediately. Destination, the fourth demon. This run would be a speed-clear record. Suddenly, a system notification pinged. Diving into the abyss would unlock an S-rank dungeon. To be honest, he expected something more. Legendary. A shark mask felt a bit mid, but it worked. Suddenly, a familiar voice shattered the silence. He spun around to find that thief. She was beaming, calling him master and gushing with gratitude. He realized his stealth dropped when he unequipped the halo. Fixing his gear, he prepared to deal. Or even, "Why are you still here?" he asked. It was obvious she was obsessed with his overwhelming strength. Ding, the system confirmed it. He'd earned a demon's respect. Okuru was looking at him with genuine awe. Before he could process the madness, she dropped into a deep bow, begging to be his disciple. Ignoring his confusion, she already claimed the apprentice title, urging him to hunt the Demon King now. "Hold up, who decided this?" he snapped. If she wanted a suicide mission, she could go alone. But she just grinned, totally misinterpreting him. She thought this was a secret test of her worth. Before he could argue, she plunged into the ocean. He watched her, wondering what chaos he'd invited. He donned his mask and headed for the portal, only for Kukuru to pop up with massive fish. She flexed her hunting skills, desperate for approval. To shut her up, he gave a half-hearted compliment. The system revealed the sea wolf's secret. On land, they're mid, but in the water, pure apex predators. They swim 10 times faster than they run with a 30-minute limit. He just dismissed her wave. "Congrats, you've graduated," he lied. She pouted, screaming that he was the most heartless master ever. She hadn't even officially joined yet. Scrambling out of the waves, she begged him to make it official. She was hungry for power. Looking into her stubborn eyes, he realized arguing was a losing battle. After being relentlessly pestered, he finally cracked. "Fine, you're my apprentice, but only for this dungeon. Temporary status only," he warned. She beamed with joy, but he just wanted to finish this run. Mostly, he just didn't want his gear stolen. He agreed to bring her along, earning endless thanks. "And don't call me master," he snapped. "One slip up, and you're out." She gave a sharp salute. Loud and clear, she chirped. Moments later, they warped into the breathtaking depths of the underwater palace. The shark mask was a total success. Jinfrey swapped to summoner, but then a voice echoed inside. "Whoa, how'd you swap classes so fast?" Kukuru's voice vibrated in his mind. "What is that gear?" He glanced at her with a smirk. He'd almost forgotten that sea wolves possess a unique biological trait. They use ultrasonic frequencies to talk. It's basically a built-in mental radio, just like dolphins do. Activating his summon, he called forth Dendon. This low-tier beast packs a punch, paralyzing foes with raw electricity. To the girl, he looked adorable, but Jinfrey knew his summoner rank was still bottom tier. High-tier spirits were out of reach for now, so he ordered Kukuru to bait some monster prey. She bolted instantly. Watching her fade, Jinfrey smirked. Having a dedicated puller was top-tier convenience. Speed is an issue, he noted, prepping Denden. Suddenly, Kukuru signaled the hunt was finally on. The massive tidal wave of sea monsters she dragged back was pure overkill, yet he didn't mind. Time for Denden's glow-up. Jinfrey gave the signal as the school of monsters swarmed their position. A massive arc of lightning fried the front line. Jinfrey dove in next, his club whistling. Skulls shattered, while Denden kept the high-voltage CC flowing. This level gap made things too easy. That paralysis was clutch. The rhythm was perfect. Kukuru pulls Denden stuns and the grind continues. Then came the finishing blow. Every kill fed Denden the sweet XP needed to finally evolve. Level 18 reached hungry for more Jinfrey, sent Kukuru back out before a sudden realization hit. He still had Mira's club. My bad, he muttered, then shrugged it off and kept fighting. Denden hit 21. At this breakneck pace, Jinfrey knew he'd hit the cap before sunset. Kukuru cheered about her big catch. Jinfrey's smile turned stiff as a gargantuan shadow loomed above. A level 175 Kraken. That's a nightmare encounter, but Jinfrey's eyes gleamed. Kukuru, you've outdone yourself. This is the zone's mid-boss, he explained. Once this calamari is toast, the Demon King appears. Panic set in, she hadn't signed up for a boss raid, but the Kraken launched its first strike. Massive tentacles slammed down, but Jinfrey blurred into motion, narrowly dodging the impact and repositioning. A wild grin spread across his face. This bought him time. His shark mask had 21 minutes. Kukuru, we're dismembering this thing, he shouted. She caught his drift instantly, prepping for the bait. She taunted the beast, circling its massive head. Enraged, the Kraken roared and lunged for her. While she distracted it, Jinfrey went to work. Each tentacle was a separate target for bonus XP. Cutting down all 8 would be like clearing a whole mob in this S-rank dungeon. High-level limbs meant high-tier rewards. Denden was about to feast on some serious experience points. Denden unleashed a high-voltage burst, locking a tentacle. Jinfrey delivered a bone-shattering strike with everything. One down, Denden's level skyrocketed with every severed limb, eventually climbing all the way to 43. As the final tentacle fell, Kukuru cheered. Jinfrey gave Denden a satisfied nod, a job well done. He signaled the girl again. She understood instantly and dove back in to keep its focus. She kept the Kraken busy while Jinfrey slipped into its blind spot for the finishing blow. With level 40 came a game-changing skill. It was time to unleash the ultimate move, Thunderclap. Lightning surged through his spiritual bandage, coating his weapon in a crackling aura of pure destruction. Fist glowing with celestial electricity, he pounced on the beast. Say hi to the Demon King. The impact pinned the massive beast to the ocean floor. Its struggle ended instantly. Silence followed. Kukuru hurried over, eyes wide with awe. You did it. But did Denden hit the cap? Max level achieved, he confirmed. The requirements were met. Now, the main event was about to begin. Suddenly, 3 massive whirlpools tore through the water. The Demon King was here, and Jinfrey was hyped. The currents turned aggressive, homing in. Jinfrey punched the water with his thunder fist, shattering the vortex. A booming voice echoed. Those who disturb my ocean's peace shall face a sentence of death. Kukuru froze in terror while Jinfrey braced. Neptune, the legendary king of the 4th continent, arrived. A level 200 titan stood before them, wielding the broken mystical god of the ocean ability. Infinite HP regeneration, a literal cheat code. Kukuru trembled, but Jinfrey just couldn't stop grinning confidently. He planned a speedrun. Every Demon King so far had been a wild card, acting outside the logic. There was a mystery here he hadn't cracked. He had to end this before Neptune's trap. Class swap initiated summoner to mage. Kukuru's jaw dropped. The legendary class swap. He's doing it again. Denden vanished as the mana shifted. Jinfrey smirked. This isn't a trick, Kukuru. He extended his hand. Jinhua lunged at Neptune, unleashing a jagged bolt of lightning. The king barely blinked as he blocked the surge. With a casual flick of his palm, the attack fizzled out. Jinhui pivoted away, while Neptune watched the dying sparks dance across his skin. Mocking the boy as a total joke, the king snatched at him. Suddenly Jinhui vanished, blinking directly behind his massive foe. He slammed a thunder fist into the king's back. Neptune stumbled, spinning around with a look of pure annoyance. But Jinhui was ready with flash. A blinding radiance exploded, searing the king's vision, and giving our hero the perfect opening. He hammered home another thunder fist, unleashing a brutal combo that actually forced the Sea King back. Jinhui frowned at his hands. The damage was underwhelming. Meanwhile, Kukuru cheered, totally hyped by the display. Neptune just laughed. You really think those little love taps can take me down, he sneered. Blurring back into range, Jinhui smirked. He knew the king was a tank, but the real show was only starting. Activating a new skill, a massive wind dragon roared toward the king. A scream echoed as the water turned into a murky mess. Amidst the chaotic cloud of bubbles, Kukuru rushed over. "Master, is he finished? Did we actually win?" she asked. "Not yet," he muttered. He knew he needed one final desperate gambit to secure a total win. If he hesitated, Neptune's health would reset completely. Time was bleeding away, and he was cornered. With only 2 minutes left on his shark mask, he swapped to Summoner and called forth Denden instantly. Ordering his pet to move, he prepped an electric ball. One hit would guarantee a full paralysis lock on the king. Suddenly, a massive vortex swirled before them. A crushing divine pressure filled the water, making everyone freeze in terror. Neptune ascended into the eye of the storm. "You've made quite a mess of my kingdom, little human," he bellowed. Most cowards wouldn't dare step foot here alone. He was actually impressed by the boy's suicidal bravado. Jinhui watched in horror as severed kraken tentacles began spinning wildly within the dark, surging whirlpool. The kraken's massive remains drifted toward Neptune. Jinhui's heart sank. He'd just put that beast down. It was happening again. The battlefield was shifting in ways he couldn't possibly predict. Neptune and the beast fused into a single nightmare. "Witness my true glory," the king roared. "You're the first to see this." Tentacles lashed out everywhere. As one brushed a passing fish, the creature instantly dissolved into nothingness. Jinhui realized those limbs were now pure poison. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay focused. Suddenly, a tentacle whipped toward him. He dove behind a massive boulder, but the impact pulverized his cover instantly. Kukuru screamed as Jinhui disappeared under the rubble. Neptune just laughed at the pathetic, crushed hero. As a frantic Kukuru searched for him, Jinhui began shoving the heavy debris aside from within. She sobbed with relief seeing him stand. Neptune raised an eyebrow. "Still kicking, you're tougher than you look." Jinhui wiped his face, knowing he was in deep trouble. One touch from those tentacles meant game over. Death was a single graze away, and his oxygen was redlining. It was time to bet everything on one last play. He swapped classes to fighter. Suddenly, the system flared. His use of spiritual bandages had triggered a hidden condition. With his health dropped to 20%, a secret fighter ability surged to life within his veins. The blessing of the fighting spirit was now active. Golden energy erupted from his body like a volcano. Neptune squinted at the glowing boy. Kukuru gasped. Had her master just unlocked a legendary hidden skill? Jinhui realized the bandage was the key. Combining it with the fighter class had finally paid off. That last hit nearly ended him. Neptune cackled, mocking him. "Another outfit change. You think fashion will save you?" The king lashed out with a tentacle annoyed. "Stop playing around. Your tricks are an insult to my power." "Die in the abyss," he roared. But Jinhui blurred narrowly, avoiding the bone-shattering strike. His speed had skyrocketed and his power felt explosive. The system pings confirmed his massive stat boost. 2 minutes left on the shark mask. He couldn't drag this out in a battle of attrition. He'd definitely lose. He needed a finishing move before his health hit zero. But how do you kill a literal god? Then Kukuru's voice pierced the chaos. She was charging straight at him. "Is she insane?" he yelled. He screamed for her to stay back, but she ignored him, diving deeper into the heart of the danger zone. Neptune grinned, ready to end both their lives in a single strike, as his tentacles coiled for the kill. Jinhui suddenly dodged, catching the king off guard. Before Neptune could react, Kukuru snatched her master and bolted. She taunted the demon king, laughing that he'd never outrun a sea wolf. He was eating her dust. Jinfrey felt motion sick while Neptune fumed. Being slower than a fish made the king's blood boil with rage. She released her master, promising she could weave through every incoming strike. Evasion was her specialty. Jinfrey locked in to finally crush the king. Time was up. On signal, Kukuru zipped in before darting away again. With a sharp nod, she braced herself as Neptune unleashed pure fury. The king went berserk, but Kukuru's agility kept them out of range. Neptune was swinging at shadows. Suddenly, Jinfrey spotted a massive opening. They blitzed his blind spot, raining down a flurry of hyper-fast strikes. Tentacles lashed out wildly. Jinfrey knew this was his final window. He wound up a massive punch, burying his fist into the monster. After more heavy hits, Neptune roared, "I'll teach you a lesson, brat." But wait, his weapon was gone. Kukuru waved the stolen axe mockingly. "Looking for this," she teased, blaming her sticky fingers on bad habits. Neptune stood there, dumbfounded. Jinfrey just rolled his eyes at her. "Good job, thief," he muttered before unleashing a storm of lightning. Thunder shook the depths. Jinfrey barked an order to the girl. "Take that axe to land. It's the only thing healing this monster. If they didn't hurry, they'd drown." Kukuru realized she needed to move. "I'll flush him out." "You deliver the final blow on dry ground." She panicked for a second. She had no idea how to use it. "No time for a plan B. I can't hold him alone," Jinfrey yelled. Steel entered her gaze. She surged toward the light, ready to fight. Breaking the surface, she signaled readiness. Below, Jinfrey charged his lightning. One explosive uppercut sent Neptune flying. Instantly, Jinfrey swapped to Summoner. Denden shock him. The electric ball hit, locking the king in place. A 1-second window. Now Kukuru, she raised the massive stolen blade. She pounced like a predator, burying the axe deep into Neptune's head. With one last gurgle, the king sank. Jinfrey finally breached for air. The fourth continent ruler was history. The system pinged with massive rewards. Kukuru's eyes nearly popped out, seeing the mountain of gold. She got 2,500,000 gold. Jinfrey explained the split. I barely did anything, she squealed. Taking half feels like a scam. He laughed. You're okay with stealing, but draw the line at fairness. Flustered, she argued that stealing was art, but boss killing was work. Her logic was wild, but Jinfrey just shrugged it off. Take the cash. This is where we part ways. Good luck. Wait, she shrieked. You can't just ditch me, I need a mentor. Her high-pitched scream nearly blew his eardrums. He just kept walking. She yelled about being ignored. Soon, Jinfrey reached the fifth continent. The fifth garden. Kukuru followed, mesmerized by the stunning local scenery. It's a sudden death survival game here. Sure, you're up for it. She hyped herself up, and Jinfrey realized her skills might be useful. Defeating the fifth king required winning the game and grabbing a secret item. A massive crowd had already swarmed the game lobby, a sight that only hyped Kukuru up. Finally, she piped up to ask what this game was even about. Jinfrey couldn't believe an adventurer didn't know the basics. She just shrugged, claiming life just worked out that way. And honestly, these games weren't her vibe at all. He let out a heavy sigh, wondering if recruiting her was a massive mistake, but he decided to explain anyway. Suddenly, a toxic voice cut through the air as a guy screamed at a girl, barking at her to stop whining and get lost. All eyes snapped toward the commotion as the adventurer spat. That he expected a high-level elf, but she turned out to be a total flop. She had the chance to pick a legendary class. Yet she chose Alchemist. Talk about the most brainless and pathetic choice possible. The elf, Levin Luminous, tearfully agreed with his insults, but the man didn't let her finish and ordered her to shut her mouth. Her presence was no longer required. His buddy pointed to a guy standing nearby, bragging that they'd already secured a replacement. Stuttering, she explained, she didn't have another team to join. He just scoffed, telling the girl he didn't give a damn. Go find a new crew if you're so desperate, he sneered, shoving her aside. At that moment, Jinfrey stepped into the frame and asked if she was looking for a squad. Why stay with these losers when she could join them instead? Levin looked up, stunned, while the men flared up, demanding to know who this random guy was. He ignored them, focusing solely on the elf. He told her the game required 3 players, and they were running out of time. So what's it gonna be, he asked. He assured her they always welcomed new talent and looked to Kukuru to back him up. Kukuru gave a thumbs up, saying if he was cool with it, then she was down too. Right then, the system pinged, urging everyone to finalize their 3-man cells immediately, and Jinfrey warned Leven that the match was starting. Her face lit up. Wait, so we're really a team now? She vowed they'd crush the competition. Kukuru patted her shoulder, grinning wildly despite having zero clue what was happening. The jerk leader just mocked Jinfrey, calling him a moron for picking the most useless teammate in the entire lobby. He laughed, wishing them luck, not dying in the first 5 minutes. The squad's cackling made Levin's stomach churn. It stung. Then the system announced the start. A glowing heart icon manifested on every player's chest, like a target. And wishing everyone luck, the system initiated the teleport. Magic circles erupted beneath their feet in a flash of light, and every team was warped to random corners of the garden. Jinfrey and his crew landed deep in the woods, and Kukuru scanned the trees, hyped to be alone. Wait, is it just us here? What about the rules? Jinfrey told her to lock in because he was only explaining this once. The objective was simple. The squad with the most heart badges after 48 hours wins. It is a total survival of the fittest. Lose your badge and you're erased. But stealing enemy badges lets you revive your fallen teammates. She loved the sound of that, so the mission was just to snatch as many badges as possible. That meant things were about to get fun. She bolted ahead, leaving Jinfrey to officially introduce himself to the elf, which she was thrilled about. He suggested they get straight to the point. Can you brew something for me? She nodded confidently, boasting that her bag was packed with potent potions. He pointed toward the thick brush, asking if she could whip up an explosive herb and toss it over there. She moved instantly, and a heartbeat later, the volatile plant was ready. She hurled it at his target, and a massive explosion rocked the area. The shockwave sent several men hiding in the bushes flying. They crashed hard right at the team's feet, and the leader groaned, wondering where the blast came from. Then he saw a pair of boots and went dead silent. Jinfrey smirked, demanding they hand over their badges. It was the same toxic group that had abandoned Levin. Their leader glared up at Jinfrey, fuming over what just happened. He taunted him, asking how Levin's explosive grass tasted. The man's rage-filled eyes immediately snapped to the elf girl, and he roared at her to stay in her lane. Why didn't you tell us you could do that? We wouldn't have ditched you. Suddenly, Kukuru blurred past, swiping their badges in a flash. She looked back at Jinfrey, proud of her quick work. Even Jinfrey was stunned by her speed. The losers didn't even realize they'd been robbed until it was too late. He wondered if she was going too hard. Should he be impressed or terrified? The thugs were absolutely livid, and they lunged to take their badges back, but the system teleported them away. Kukuru watched, wondering where they went. Jinfree explained that since they lost their hearts, they were booted back to the lobby. Finally, the game clicked for her. Levin's ego skyrocketed after the praise. She immediately started gushing back, hyping up her teammates' insane triple heart heist. She joked that stealing 3 souls at once was next level. Riding that high, she vowed to snatch even more badges. Her predator instincts kicked in as she spotted her next marks. 3 unsuspecting adventurers were idling nearby. She blitzed toward them, ignoring our hero's warning to chill. Kukuru closed the gap already, tasting another easy victory. But her triumph turned to terror when her own heart vanished. She froze mid-stride, completely rattled by the sudden turn. The guys burst out laughing at her confusion. Meanwhile, Jinfree just face-palmed, sighing at the consequences of being a reckless noob. She spun around, dazed and desperate. The adventurers smirked, asking if she'd ever heard of a theft-repellent charm. Thanks to her greed, they walked away with 4 fresh hearts. Kukuru snapped furiously, demanding they hand her loot back. A rival noted that single-use repellents are pricey, but snagging a haul like this made the investment totally worth it. Before she could throw a tantrum, the system yanked her back to the lobby. Jinfree just scratched his head in disbelief. He realized that while thief skills are OP, the game devs clearly included plenty of high-tier counter-gadgets. Strategy and intel are the real meta here. Suddenly, those same 3 guys locked their sights on Jinfree's squad. Since they were with the failed thief, the trio figured they were easy prey and launched an immediate ambush. Big mistake. Jinfree moved like a blur, snatching every single heart badge before they could even blink. As they stood there, stunned, he coldly remarked that sometimes raw speed is the ultimate counterplay. He told the elf to summon Kukuru back for a serious reality check on her rookie mistakes. The rivals were shook by his god-tier speed, as the system force-teleported them straight to the lobby. Our MC watched them fade, low-key wondering why the heart icons had such a weirdly specific shape. They respawned Kukuru in a quiet clearing. She immediately hit the deck, begging for forgiveness and promising to lock in. Jinfree shrugged it off, glad she'd learned her lesson. As dusk settled, it was time to fortify their campsite. He tapped Levin for another item fusion session. She beamed thrilled to be the team's MVP as night fell. While they slept, the forest echoed with the screams of players getting hunted. Jinfree smirked in his sleep. Hearing all that chaos meant the area was packed. Tomorrow was going to be an absolute loot fest. At sunrise, he checked their haul. Levin's carnivorous plants had been working overtime, snagging a mountain of badges. He spotted movement in the brush and nudged the girls awake. They were out cold, completely unbothered by the night's carnage. He joked about their lack of insomnia before pointing toward the shadows. "Look alive, we've got uninvited guests." He warned them to guard their hearts. The enemy squad was stunned they'd been spotted so easily. Their leader clicked his tongue, annoyed that his sneaky morning ambush had already been blown. Jinfree ordered the girls to stay sharp. These survivors were way more dangerous than yesterday's bottom-tier scrubs. The 3 rivals closed in. One sneered, asking if they had some sort of high-level detection skill equipped. It was actually just the alchemist armor acting as bait. Suddenly, he activated split teleportation cards from his inventory. White light flashed. Jinfree instantly realized they were using a divide-and-conquer strat to pick them off. Levin vanished with a female rival, while Kukuru got warped away with another. Jinfree was left facing their leader. The leader smirked, declaring they were now isolated. His plan was simple: split the party, then crush them with summons. Jinfree's irritation began to peak. Noticing his frown, the guy mocked him, asking if he was worried about his girls. He bragged about sending Jinfree to the lobby next. The MC just smirked back, calling him a massive yapper. He warned the leader that his team wasn't some weak mob. They'd be the ones heading to the lobby soon. Kukuru didn't waste a second. She drew her daggers as Levin assumed a combat stance, refusing to lose. Levin's gaze sharpened, knowing the stakes were too high to fail now. Kukuru became a blur, darting between shadows. Her opponent's beasts couldn't track her movement at all. "I'm not fast," she taunted from a tree branch. "You're just lagging." He snarled and hurled a knife, but she dodged it effortlessly. She analyzed the field, 1 summoner and 3 beasts. If she neutralized the master, the pets would vanish. She committed to the blitz, lunging straight for the guy's heart badge to end it in 1 shot. But as her blade struck, a heavy shield blocked her path. The guy sneered, mocking her weak-ass attack power. She smirked, taunting him for cowering behind his shield. Was he actually trembling with fear? Enraged, he commanded his beasts to shred her. But as they closed in, she launched into the air, landing precision strikes on every single one. Retreating to the treetops, she mocked their futile efforts to catch her. The guy's temper flared instantly. He snarled at his brainless pets, forcing them to seize her. Yet when he scanned the branches, she had vanished into thin air. Suddenly, Kukuru materialized behind him, whispering that his reaction time was pathetic. Before he could even turn, she activated her steel skill and buried her foot in his face. After sending him flying, she flashed the stolen heart badge with a cocky grin, asking if his defense was supposed to be a joke. That single blow ended him, and the prize was hers. But the game was far from over. The beasts didn't vanish. Instead, they began closing in. Puzzled, she wondered why they were still there. Was he a different kind of summoner, a coward who relied on shields while his monsters did the dirty work? The monsters lunged, forcing her into a desperate sprint. This definitely was not part of her plan. With the heart in her possession, her only goal was to escape. Meanwhile, Levin deployed a search herb to scan for magic within 100 meters, but the trail was cold. Her target had vanished into the smoke. From the shadows of the brush, her opponent watched her every move, staying perfectly concealed. She knew Levin was cautious, but catching an elf would be light work, 5 minutes tops. Suddenly, an arrow whistled toward Levin from behind. She reacted instantly, diving behind a barrier plant and retaliating with an explosive herb. Her rival admitted the move was impressive, but ultimately useless if it did not land. Levin's heart raced as she heard a faint rustle at her back. She spun around, only to find herself staring down more summoned beasts. As they leaped, she triggered a smokescreen and bolted for cover, narrowly dodging 2 incoming arrows. The projectiles missed by a hair. Crouching low, she realized tracking an enemy in this dense jungle was a nightmare. Her opponent acknowledged her craftiness, but wondered how long she could play hide-and-seek against a bow and a pack of monsters. Levin knew the forest favored her, and she would never fail. Those who trusted her as their commander. Concentrating, she crafted a decoy herb, specifically designed to lure the beasts with its scent. She held it high, catching their predatory eyes. As she hurled the herb, the beasts chased after it like mindless strays. Her foe was stunned by how easily they were diverted. Levin smirked, glad to have cleared the board. Now it was a one-on-one. Her rival just laughed, asking if she really thought she was that clever. Levin fired back, asking if that was why all her shots were missing. "Shut up," the woman snapped, her patience wearing thin. She began preparing another trap, refusing to accept defeat. She tossed a high-intensity glow weed that erupted in a blinding flash, forcing the hidden archer to stumble out and tumble down a small ledge. The opening was perfect. Levin closed the distance instantly and ripped the badge from the woman's chest. With a winning smile, she noted that while her rival was blind, she had lost her heart. She added a mock comfort, telling her that her sight would return soon. The woman frantically felt for her missing badge. Before she could even protest, the teleportation kicked in, sending her straight back to the lobby. Only their leader remained. He let out a condescending laugh, telling Jin Woo his confidence was misplaced. He boasted that his high-rank beasts were invincible, making Jin Woo's defeat inevitable. He told him to cut the chatter. But Jin Woo was just stalling for time. Suddenly, the beasts moved on their own, catching their master off guard. Since he had not given a single command, he watched in horror as his monsters began acting like loyal pets toward Jin Woo. "What kind of cheat code is this?" he screamed. Jin Woo just stroked the bird, noting they seemed to prefer his company. A system prompt flickered, 20 hours of usage remaining. The requirements were finally met. Lucifer's heavenly wheel skill reached level 3, evolving the Garden of Illusion into the devastating Garden of Phantoms. Julian froze in terror as Jin Woo pointed a finger at him, commanding the monsters to grab their former master.